Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order for the Brawley City Council and successor agency to Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Regular meeting for Tuesday, February 6th, 6 p.m. We can have the roll call, please.
The minutes will reflect all council members present.
Okay, thank you. If you could please rise. Our invocation will be by Council Member Luke Hamby.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we're grateful to you for our freedoms this evening and for the opportunity to lead and to serve our community. We ask that you would give us clarity and focus this evening as we discuss issues before us, and that you would watch over us this week as we leave this place. Help us to be productive and keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jones, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jones, and thank you, Councilmember Hamby. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public appearances, comments. Item 2. It's not to exceed 4 minutes. This is a time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public appearance or a comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Tim Kelly, 1041 Calle Estrella. Honorable Council, Mr. Hamby, congratulations. I would like to make just a couple comments really quick. First of all, I think you've been noticing the Brawley Theater. There's some activity going on there. I know that Jay Kruger was here a couple weeks ago, gave a report. We hope to finish the demolition this week and have it cleared out. We are planning a press conference for next Thursday, and that press conference will just carry over into the mayor's breakfast. But that's going to be our next campaign to raise funds. And I think that where we are today is that we're going to make this theater as nice as we possibly can for the community, as fast as we can, but we're going to need their support. And so we'll be asking for that support. We do thank the city for their support. Believe me, they've been supportive every step of the way as far as getting permits and everything else that we needed. So we do really appreciate that. One other thing is the mayor and I have been speaking about some different things that are going on here in the city of Brawley. And I think what we're finding is there's a lot of good things happening, a lot of good organizations. And what we need to make sure is happening is those organizations are working together, because I think we can really accomplish a lot more. Brawley Community Foundation definitely is a part of that with our strategies for improving the downtown. IVDC, which I'm the president and CEO of, and the different initiatives that we have. And one of the initiatives that I wanted to make sure you're aware of tonight is the Southern Broadband Coalition. So we're leading that coalition for San Diego and Imperial County to make sure that the Imperial County and San Diego are not left behind by the digital divide, which we know is occurring. And that's everything from education, commerce, emergency medical services, you name it. And we'll be having a roundtable this Friday in Imperial. Sonny Wright McPeak will be there, the director of the CETF, Advanced Services Fund. And so we do have a grant to be able to administer this initiative, but the reality is the need in our region, which is San Diego and Imperial County, is about $1 billion. And so our strategy is identify the need and figure out ways to place that. One way the city can help us, well, there's many ways, but number one is instituting the dig once policy, which means that every time there's a public works project, that we work together, make sure that not only you're putting in sewer lines, but gas lines, broadband. And so the most expensive part is the engineering and the trenching. And so if we can take full advantage of that, it will help us make sure we take those advantages. As you know, we just moved our office. Guess what? we're in an underserved community. As a matter of fact, we're in a non-served community where we moved into. And so if you can imagine, that's where we are in El Centro, what other people are up against when they're moving into areas and trying to expand our commerce. With no commerce, there's no sales tax. With no sales tax, we know what happens there. So we support, we'd like to have representatives from the city there, and we'll be having some forums here in the city to learn more about this program, but we'll be bringing others together as we talk about ways to bridge this digital divide and bring services to the city of Brawley. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public appearance or has a comment to share with the city council? Mr. Jones, if you can please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see a lot of my former students here.
All right.
You're doing a good job. I appreciate it very much. I'm here on a mission, and the mission doesn't really concern the city of Brawley, but it concerns the people in Brawley. Okay? And that concern is Carter Road. From Webster Road all the way to Forester. The road is falling apart. A good neighbor of mine down the road, he's even taken out sand and put in the holes because he got tired of running over them and tearing up his front end of his truck. This road is a danger. Today alone, between 8 o'clock and 12 noon, there were 5 big trucks with hay. There were other large trucks with citrus and all sorts of stuff. And then you have all the people traveling down it for the prison. And the road is just terrible. Now, I've talked to Public Works. I've talked to the Imperial Valley Council. And now I'm here. And what I'm asking you to do is to help me on my mission to at least acknowledge that there is a problem and that maybe you would like to have it fixed. From my house to Webster Road, the road, my house, Webster Road. The road that if you're going north, there's a west side main. And the road is not flat. The road goes over. If you hit one of those bumps and you can't control your car, you're going to end up in the west side main. Since I've lived there, there's been 5 people go in that ditch between my house and Webster Road. So it's a danger. They don't even have markings down the middle of the road, and it's a very narrow road. But they don't have caution signs. They don't have the sides of the roads marked. And at night, try it sometime. Go out there and drive down Webster Road 4 or 5 times and see how well you can see the edge of the road. So, what I'm asking is, if you feel up to it, fill out the little form I gave you. Contact the people in Brawley that you know and tell them to do the same thing. Because I talked to the people in El Centro and they said, the greasy wheel gets the oil. And Mr. Kelly told me tonight that he talked to the people there and they're considering moving us up. It all depends on money. But they're moving us up, and it's because the people of Brawley, half of Brawley drives down that road all the time to San Diego, the desert, and it's very, very dangerous.
I've driven on it many times.
And I guess I've spoken my piece.
Mr. Jones, thank you very much. And we do have your forms. We appreciate you bringing those by. Thank you for your comment. And we do have our district representative, Ryan Kelly, here as well. So he heard your comments, and thank you.
Yeah, he's heard him before.
Yeah.
I kind of took him on a road ride, but it takes too long here to take him on the road ride through the area. Just be careful when you travel on that road, folks. Please be careful when you go down part of the road.
I'm gonna have to go drive it.
Mr. Jones.
The other thing, sometime somewhere along the line, could you guys maybe call the TV stations and ask them why there's nothing in the local news about Brawley? Let alone El Centro, or Calapat, or Plexico. It's all Yuma.
Mr. Jones, thank you again for your comment. It was great seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment?
Kate Apricola, CoLab. I wasn't going to say anything, but since we're doing a plea on roads, I would like to address something which I did on December 5th. about the relinquishment funds in Highway 78. I sent a letter at CoLab's request on December 29th, and I did a follow-up last week. Apparently, my name is now Chop Liver, because I have yet to have the courtesy of a reply from any of you about it. And I think that is highly disrespectful to a resident who has been respectful to your positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to make a public comment?
Good evening, Mayor and councilmen. Well, like you can say it's a complaint or something, but anyway, my name is Carmen Araujo. I was born here in Brawley. We live at 1065 K Street in Brawley. Me and my husband care about what is happening here in Brawley. We have 5 generations, and most of all of them were born here in Brawley. We're always involved in politics most of our lives here in Brawley and in the valley. We care about Brawley and our valley. We have a concern about our downtown for one thing. The street was supposed to be fixed a few years back when 111 opened on the East Main. Since Caltrem only fixed Highway 86 going to El Centro, then the city got money to fix down Main Street. So far, nothing has happened. I hope the city still has the money and applies for more, because the longer you wait, the more it will cost. Fix it as soon as possible, and also put some kind of stores so that we can buy things here and get more revenues. You need to put a big truck stop on Highway 111, restaurants or other business, etc., etc. The town has to grow toward 111 and not on 86 toward El Centro. It looks like nobody cares what happens to this town, but we do. Don't take a long time to fix it, like it took to have a fire substation on the east side. Me and my husband always worked for 60 years to put that fire station on the east side, which it took us a lot of work, but I'm proud of it. I hope I don't sound mean, because I'm not mean, just disappointed. I also saw in the Ivy Press they are building another courthouse in El Centro. Remember, the north end of the valley still exists. We need improvement on the north end of the valley. And please, don't close the courthouse in Brawley. The other cities here in the north end need it. People don't have cars or transportation to go over to El Centro, nor money. I think I better stop before you throw me out. Think I try to understand what I mean. If I said something wrong, please excuse me. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Araujo.
Thank you, Mrs. Rowe.
And Ms. Araujo, we typically, when it's public comment, we don't provide a lot of feedback, but I do want to share it for the sake of the public here. With respect to some of your concerns, you'd mentioned a truck stop near Highway 111. We're about 90 days out from a major national truck stop being really breaking ground out there. So that's Pilot. That's going to be located out here. And with respect to the money, the relinquishment funds, the Caltrans funds that were provided to the city in exchange for the roadway, we're actually developing a plan now that we will be hopefully implementing very soon. In fact, later tonight, I'll be asking the rest of council to support something that I've been working on. But of course, the entire council is working on behalf of the residents. I know there was a comment by Ms. Kate Apricola with respect to her question, and we're working on a plan here. I think it's going to be probably next month before it's finalized, but there's some exciting things happening here soon. To include a proposal for some downtown improvements that my goal is to have improved this year. So it'll be a very vast change to the way things look here today. So And not to mention what Tim Kelly shared earlier with respect to the theater. So there's a lot of movement, and I hope that within this meeting and the next probably 2 meetings, we can have some real clear idea for the public of what is being worked on. So thank you for your comment.
Okay, don't close at 4 o'clock.
Right, and that's
not
something
our
that the council will help support as well.
We'll
So,
support it.
yeah,
It's not our decision.
right, right,
Before, and not then.
right.
It's not our decision.
Thank you.
But
Thank
we'll
you.
fight for
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment?
this county.
I think Mr. Ryan Kelly's sneaking in here. Is it, who's going to win the race? Mr. Reyes? Or?
Mr. Reyes won.
Eric Reyes, 1128 Elm Court. I know you're going to have a discussion on what we came for regarding the comments, but prior to that also, I want to state it before that we'll also be hosting a rally at 4 o'clock at the Pure Grove site, and we're hoping that we can have our public officials there. And also in this open comment period, that's hopefully you're going to direct your staff to make something very strong as to what we're going to all discuss, right? We'll be involved in discussion, right, I hope also. It doesn't preclude each and every one of you as an elected official to declare yourself that for notification purposes but to also write your own personal comment. The more comments we get from those that are involved in this and believe that we need to make our community whole again is better for all of us. And we're asking, I know we've invited Mr. Kelly and Mr. Castillo, who represent the Board of Supervisors, and Eddie Garcia and others. We'll have that in discussion, but the more people you can rally also to make the comments, and it's on the website, on your website. Thank you very much. That was very good, very easy to follow. But a lot of people aren't able to do that, access it. If you can have more people do it as well, if you have your own constituents and do it as well. But each and every one of you are also invited to the meeting that day. Just even though if you're sending your public comments, you can always come as a resident of Brawley and state your piece as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? Mr. Kelly?
Good evening, Ryan Kelly, 448 Russell Road. I did not want to come after my cousin because that would have been too close. But then you had so many people up here.
Right.
I got to experience Mr. Jones with street problems out in the county. Didn't expect that. Kay up here with problems in the city. Didn't expect that. So, well, I was expecting her to say something about county roads, but anyways, I wanted to give you some updates on some things that are occurring. We had a presentation today from the Border Patrol. There is going to be a new wall construction from the New River to the All-American Canal, about 2 miles. It's going to be 30 feet high. It's see-through, and construction starts next Monday. This is not part of the President's border wall. This is something that was already programmed. I also want to make you aware that the community benefits program from the county, the solar mitigation monies, are going to be, are they're now open for applications. We made it known that county programs can apply, and I don't see any barrier for city programs to apply as well.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
That's appreciated very much.
And thank you for the coffee, Alma.
That's right.
And I'm here for any questions you might have about anything that's going on.
Any questions from the council? No, I certainly do appreciate your comments, though, and the input you've provided, certainly.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And separately, Mr. Kelly, nice event over at the Pioneer, so thank you for having us out there as well. Sir, anyone else who'd like to make a public appearance or has a comment for the city council? No other comments? Okay, so the next item on the agenda, we're going to go to item number 3, special presentations. And it's 3A, Mr. Simon Canales with the Brawley Union High School District. He's a superintendent there, and he has a presentation he'd like to make before the city council and the public.
Thank you. Mayor Nava, council members, city staff, citizens, students of Brawley, Supervisor Kelly. On behalf of the Brawley Union High School District Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure tonight to present some insightful information regarding our district, and just want to share with you some of the changes that are going on and talk a little bit about accountability and some activities that will be going on in the near future. So with that, we're going to start with a little video.
Excuse us if our backs to you, we just want to be able to watch it.
The Brawley Union High School District dates back to 1908, serving students in grades 9 through 12 from the cities of Brawley and Westmoreland. We've always believed in the importance of education and continue to put students first.
Increase that
Classroom instruction in the Brawley Union High School District focuses on inquiry-based lessons that train students to explore topics and events while learning how this information is relevant to their lives and communities. Students engage in high-quality mathematical tasks, showing a deep understanding of the practices and procedures used to solve problems in college and the workplace. Students also have access to rigorous career technical education courses, which provide hands-on learning in specific career areas. BUHSD is a Google reference district with many instructional opportunities for students to learn and utilize technology and electronic devices. Our district is committed to preparing all students to become productive global citizens by providing a student-centered, safe, and secure learning environment focused on academic achievement through high-quality instruction. At the heart of the district is Brawley Union High School, the comprehensive high school serving the majority of our students. To continue its strides in academic success, BUHS partners with the College Board and Khan Academy to promote college readiness through support. Career technical education and advanced placement offerings continue to be expanded, and our students have access to free online AP, SAT, and ACT preparation programs. Our leadership course connects juniors and seniors with freshmen to help them acclimate to the BUHS campus through mentoring and support. A rigorous school-wide writing program provides students with regular opportunities to write in every class they attend throughout the year. Our athletic programs are committed to helping our student athletes pursue excellence both on the field and in the classroom. The associated student body offers a variety of extracurricular activities with over 400 student-led clubs that help students explore different areas of interest. Student mentoring and student connectiveness through athletics, ASB, and clubs remain a strong priority for our staff. Our maintenance and facilities staff work diligently to maintain our facilities, and recent upgrades of the junior college and science buildings focus on energy efficiency. Areas throughout the campus are beautifully landscaped, building projects are completed, and sturdy picnic benches have been added, all with the hard work and learning of students in our landscape, construction, and welding courses. Dedicated to helping students who have struggled at the comprehensive school site are the alternative education programs in the district. Desert Valley High School, the district's continuation site, carries on the district's commitment to excellence each day. DVHS is a California model continuation school where the teachers and staff work relentlessly to help students see their potential in the classroom and help them succeed in their academics to earn the credits they need for graduation. Students complete portfolios and a career program, giving them the tools they will need in the areas of college and career readiness. After graduation, Desert Valley Scorpions leave for trade schools to study careers such as aviation technologies, nursing programs, and many students also enroll in Imperial Valley College. Renaissance School plays an important part in the district's goal of reaching all students. Those who may have challenges that kept them from regularly attending school come to Renaissance to get back on their feet with their education. Students study all subject areas, integrating their learning in a small setting. Recently, the introduction of robotics and computer coding has brought a rejuvenated enthusiasm to learning, and the students work hard to keep up with their courses and attendance. The final component to the district's alternative programs is adult education. Up to 200 adults within our community attend classes in the evenings to earn their high school diploma, prepare to pass the GED, or improve their abilities to speak, read, and write the English language. In addition, welding and computer courses are offered to adults to help them build their skills and advance in their careers. At BUHSD, we strive to keep our parents and community informed and educated about our students' progress towards their goals after graduation. There are a variety of events throughout the year that explain our programs, course offerings, and options for college and careers after high school. We encourage all parents and community members to participate in evening events such as informational meetings, college and career readiness events, and sporting events, to name a few. Information on upcoming events can be found through the Counseling Center, our website, or by calling the school offices. The Brawley Union High School District is dedicated to ensure that our students receive a high-quality educational experience while being actively involved and personally connected. Our goals remain to increase the educational achievement of all of our students, increase college and career readiness, close achievement gaps, provide a positive school climate, improve communication efforts among stakeholders, and ensure a safe and orderly environment.
Hope that was insightful. Just kind of give you some background information for the district. Now I want to share kind of vision of where we're going for the future. Let's close.
Let's close that out.
Welcome, Jeff.
Well, this is Jeff Wise and Tony Leon, everybody.
Yeah, that was our draft day video. If you didn't get to see
let's-
that one.
Let's close that one, exit out of that. There you go. Cancel that one. You want to hand me the, oh,
Where are we at?
here, just hand it over.
That's hard to see.
Sorry about that. All right, here you go.
So kind of just give you an understanding of where we've come from as far as last year. We're coming off of a banner year, and I'm not going to talk about athletics, although we were recently named one of the top high school athletic programs in Imperial County for last year after winning 3 CIF championships. But today's going to be all about academics. And so we were named College Board's AP District Honor Roll for Equity and Access. So that is the opportunity for a large number of students who normally are traditionally underserved participating in the AP program and scoring at a rate of 3 or higher. We were also recognized by the California School Boards Association for its highest honor with the Golden Bell Award for the BUHS Civics Initiative, which we have a number of students in the room that represent us regarding that. We're also 2-time award winners of Chief Justice Tani Kantil-Sakaui and State Public Superintendent of Instruction Tom Torlickson's Civic Initiative Award. We received the White House Presidential Education Award for Environmental Literacy at BUHS last year. We were named a U.S. News and World Best High School as far as BUHS is concerned. As you heard in the video, Desert Valley was named a California Model Continuation School. It also received a 6-year WASC accreditation. And I'll talk about in a bit, and in the article that I provided for some background information, we had significant CASC score increases last year. One of our hashtags, Brawley Proud, and we're really big on social media right now and promoting our image and getting that information out, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So our theme for 2017-2018 is Every Day Being Superheroes for Kids. And so we came up with these shirts that our staff are wearing on Wednesdays throughout the school year. We want them to be part of the Brawley Hope Squad, which HOPE stands for Hero of Public Education. And our slogan is, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? And so those are 2 more hashtags you'll see in various aspects of social media. On the back side of those brochures that I handed you that talk about the LCAP and the goals for the district are all of our links to our social media, so you can follow along. Just kind of reiterating some of the things that we mentioned in the video. Over the last 2 years, we've redeveloped our vision, mission, and areas of focus. Our vision statement is to prepare students to become global, productive citizens. Our mission statement is to provide a student-centered, safe, and secure learning environment for all, focused on academic achievement through high-quality instruction. Our core values and belief is that we all belong to one family, and our values and beliefs are rooted in excellence in learning, in teaching, and in service to our students, equity in access, resource allocation, and educational opportunities, engagement with students, families, and our community, enrichment in curricular and extracurricular offerings and activities, and our strategic goals, which we're heavily focused on, are to increase the educational achievement of all of the students that we serve. College and career readiness is something that we're really heavily focused on. Closing achievement gaps, providing a positive school climate, and improving communication efforts amongst stakeholders. And that's what brings me out amongst all of you. And we'll be kind of making the rounds. We're hitting service clubs up and having conversations about what's happening in the district and inviting everybody to come take tours of what's going on at all of the sites that we have within the district.
That's great.
Welcome anyone who'd like to come. And then also, most importantly, we need to ensure a safe and orderly environment. So, most of you have probably heard about our new accountability system that's coming out at the state level, and it's called the California Dashboard. And so what once was all about test scores now incorporates a number of different factors. So any of you who may have children in a K-8 district or K-8 school, your pie charts are going to look a little different than the high school. And the reason being is that other factors are being built into the high school's accountability model. So for right now, these were just shared within the last month or so, and our areas of emphasis are English learner progress, graduation rate, and suspension rate. What's coming in the near future is a college and career readiness indicator, and that's where you're going to see CASP test scores folded in. So with English language arts, mathematics. Also going to look at embedded in there AP passage scores, SAT scores, EAP measurement for state colleges, and what's exciting is career technical education pathway completers. So really multiple measures going into the indicator to show college and career readiness. It won't be just about a test score. Another metric that's being added in the near future is chronic absenteeism. So you're looking at students absent more than 10% of the school year, excused or unexcused, which is completely different than a truancy rate, which is looking at unexcused absences. So an emphasis is kids, regardless of excused or unexcused absences, need to be in school in order to be successful. So our report card right now looks like this. Our English learner progress has moved from yellow last year to green. We've made some pretty good progress on both test scores and reclassification of our English learners is what we want to have happen. Our graduation rate is up over 95% for the district, so we're doing very well with blue, and we're holding that and sustaining that for all significant subgroups, whether they're English learners, special education, so socioeconomically disadvantaged. We're doing very well right there. The area that we need to take a closer look at is our suspension rate. There are multiple factors that go into that, and so we're in the orange range, and obviously you want to move further from red and you want to move towards blue in order to be successful. But we're looking at a number of initiatives and multi-tiered systems of support. We obtained a grant in conjunction with the Imperial Valley Regional Occupation Program, in conjunction with the Central Union High School District and the Brawley Elementary School District to bring PBIS, which is Positive Behavioral Intervention Support Programs, into our institution. So we're receiving heavy training. We're focusing on the whole child, all aspects of what goes into possible discipline matters in order to shore things up, trying to work on changing climate that will lead to culture and help us to improve areas there. As far as the test scores that I mentioned earlier, English language arts and mathematics is what the focus is in this new accountability system as of right now. So over the last year, between 16-17 and 15-16 in English language arts, Brawley Union High School District had a 20.42% increase in test scores, and in mathematics had a 9.09% increase in test scores. The three-year aggregate for ELA was 26.42% and 11.09%. And so as a result of this, and these numbers hold true for significant subgroups as well, we've had a number of high-leverage news agencies kind of focus in on us for newspaper articles. You participated in a documentary last year by PBS on some of the initiatives that are going on. So we're receiving recognition for the work that we're doing, and a lot of it has to correlate to climate, culture, changing instructional practices, affording more opportunities and equity and access for students and opportunities to participate in rigorous programs. And that's what we'll continue to sustain and keep moving forward as it pertains to educational progress. Along that, what we're proud of and correlating to college and career success and college and career readiness is that over the last 2 years, we've been able to offer 3 new AP courses: AP Stats, Computer Science, and Psychology, 2 new Career Technical Education program pathways in Renewable Energy and Culinary Arts. Tomorrow night, we have a board meeting, which IVC is coming to participate in, to jumpstart a dual enrollment program where we can start offering college classes, IVC professors on our campus 2 nights a week on the main campus each semester next year, and 1 night a week at Desert Valley. So bringing the opportunity to bring students the ability to take 6 college courses that are transferable. All tuition is taken care of. We take care of the textbooks, so it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's geared towards all students. It's not just geared towards high honor students. So again, trying to provide equity and access and leveling playing field and getting them a touch of success at that next level, which breeds success, and we all know that. So with that, are there any questions? I know it's a lot of information. Any questions? A chance?
I don't have a question, but I certainly would like to share a comment. First, thank you for being out here and showing us what you're working on. Fantastic work. And I'll tell you that the quality of the presentation material is very, very good. And I've always am impressed, by anybody who can really simplify matters and make it easy for people to understand what's taking place. So that's one comment. But I also wanted to share, I also participated at the IVC conversation the other day, and when they spoke about the dual enrollment programs, I thought that was fantastic, but I didn't realize that the tuition and the textbook would be covered, so it's really at no expense, right? And so that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I think that's a real opportunity for sure.
Most definitely.
So, but thank you again.
No problem.
Mr. Mayor, also, just a quick question. I was just curious on the dashboard report card. Is that updated, obviously, on some regular basis? What are the data points that feed into that?
So what's going on with that, and the state is getting a lot more efficient on real-time updating of that data. So the unveiling of the dashboard is brand new with these new metrics as of the last month or so. And that is real-time data from 2016, 2017. So again, as we complete the next cycle of accountability, 17, 18 data should be up relatively soon.
That's fantastic.
And that's meaningful because we have relevant real-time data allows you the opportunity to do something and make change regarding increasing opportunities.
And Mr. Canales, my only other comment is thank you for making these rounds, and also thank you for, they've really become a regular participant through, obviously, Mr. Flores' class, but having, it's really kind of brought us that much closer with your institution, which is near and dear, obviously, to the city, and we speak about it all the time, but to have the students here, and I laud the board and all the support from the administration in allowing that to happen.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to share also our appreciation, my appreciation for you being here and sharing all this information. We get a lot of questions from the community, and so now we're able to respond to some of their concerns, and also the invitation to be able to go out there and tour the school. I think that's a great opportunity for us to actually go see everything that's in progress. On the, I had a question on the dual enrollment with IVC. Was that a grant that was received to pay for the tuition and the books, or how?
It's a commitment. There's some change for funding from the state level, and so the commitment from the community college is to cover the tuition and the cost of the instructor, and it's our commitment to cover the room and the textbook, and then any ancillary materials.
Okay. And then just a question on the dashboard, and that's easy for us to access at any time?
And what we can do is we can send you links to all of that, but yes, it's all public information. And just anyone in the community, public generally, you can go to the California Department of Education, and there's a link to data and statistics, and all of that is readily available.
Thank you.
I was just going to say that I'm involved with the school. I serve on the business advisory committee for the high school. I meet with them on a regular basis on that. I think they gave us a preview of some of this stuff. I think the last time that we met, I also am involved with IBRLP Community Foundation, so we meet with them regarding some of their programs, some of the funding that we provide for their programs, and also through the Rotary. And we have a speech contest coming up for Rotary, and we're involved a little bit from the Rotary side. So I do know what they're doing. I do encourage anybody to go out and visit their classes, and especially their vocational. They have a really neat vocational setup right now. It reminds me of what we had when I went to high school. It's much more modern, much more technically oriented, but they're great. There's some great welding classes going on, a wood shop. There's the culinary arts that I visited, and so I encourage everybody to go and make a little visit and see what the high school's involved with and what they're doing out there. Also the landscaping. Take a look at what they've done there in that area.
Great points, thank you. And just if I could add a comment with respect to vocational studies, I'm a very big supporter of vocational studies. Even if you choose to go into a different direction in life or in business or whatever it is, I was also a product of taking a lot of shop courses. I learned a lot about just life and working and doing a lot of other things. The reason I mention it is because I think there's a great opportunity also with IBC. They've really created some great programs out there as well, and I think that's a great way to, for those who want to learn a vocation, it's great local resources to be able to do that. So, no, thank you.
Most definitely.
Mr. Canales, it's good to meet you. I haven't met you before, but I really appreciated the information that you brought, and it is impressive to see these numbers coming up. My only interaction at Brawley High has been with Palmer Auditorium and the theater group and some of the ROP kids, and it's been a real pleasure out there. And along those lines, I just wanted to let you know that there's some events that are in the works to possibly utilize Palmer for some classic movie nights. So I would love to get together with you and chat about that, and I'd love to come out and tour Brawley High and see what's going on out there.
Most definitely. Pleasure meeting you, and anytime. The invitation is always open to not only all of you, but anyone in the public. So we relish the opportunity to showcase what our schools are doing. With that, if I could just, one more thing is that I know you've gotten formal invitations from Imperial County Office of Education. Friday at 1:30, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tom Torlickson is going to be in town, and the only school that he's going to be visiting in Imperial County is Brawley Union High School.
Fantastic.
And so we are going to showcase some of Mr. Flores' civic students, so he's going to have some opportunity to mingle with them. We're going to showcase our career technical education program. The reason we're really proud of that is that we want to blend college and career readiness. There shouldn't be a choice one over the other. So the programs that we're embedding, we're making sure that those courses are A through G, so you don't have to make a choice to choose one over the other. There's no reason why we can't build foundational experiences in high school that then transfer and stick in college. And I think that's important for our students and for our family members, because when you're choosing majors out of a bag and they're not sticking for an occupation, somebody's got to pay for that in time and money. And so we want to make things stick early on, and making those connections with blended college and career readiness programs in high school, we see that as a fit. So we're going to showcase that. But one thing we also are going to unveil that night, Mr. Kelly talked about an initiative for equity and access in the digital divide. Well, we've partnered with ICOE to be the first educational institution in Imperial County to be able to broadcast a free Wi-Fi signal in a 3-mile radius from the high school. And that's what we're going to be unveiling and talking about on Friday. So 1:30 in the library. We'd love to see you all there. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. That's item 4. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Is there a motion to approve the consent
make a motion.
agenda? All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second and a third, all right.
Just a second.
So I think the second was Councilmember Hamby, am I correct? Yeah?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
So motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 5, regular business. We'll start with 5A, discussion and potential action to adopt resolution number 2018- resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, appointing members to fill vacancies on various boards, commissions, and committees. Pages 64 to 70. So please turn to 64 and 70 in your agenda packet. We'll review the material. And these are for two vacancies on the Parks and Rec Commission and for one vacancy on the Library Board. Am I correct? All right. So there's 4 applications. I hope you've all had an opportunity to read the applications. And for the Parks and Rec Commission, we have Jenny Benavides, who's submitted her application of interest. We have Victor Estrada for Parks and Rec, who's submitted an application of interest. We have Julio Jauregui for Parks and Rec Advisory Commission, who's submitted an application for the Parks and Rec. And we have one application for the Library Board. I would like to start just with the Library Board because it's, there's one candidate there. So I would make a motion to approve Ms. Crystal Duran as the appointed member.
I'll second that.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So congratulations to Ms. Crystal Duran. All right. And so for the Parks and Rec Commission, we have 3 applications, and we have 2 vacancies. So if anybody would like to, or if you'd like to take a quick minute just to review, if you haven't already done so, the applications, and then we can make a motion to make a recommendation here to the rest of council. So we'll take 1 minute here.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that Victor Estrada's in the audience.
Okay, yeah.
And I had mentioned, I talked to him about serving on this board possibly.
Okay. Is there anybody else who did apply for the position that may be in the audience? Ms. Benavides or Mr. Jauregui?
No, he's not here.
No.
Not present. I should have had him come, but he's still recuperating from bronchitis.
All right, so I will open it up to discussion amongst the city council. Is there anyone who'd like to make a recommendation on appointment?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
just make a note with reference to the vacancies.
To the vacancies, yes, I'm sorry.
One of the terms ends June 30, 2018, and the other ends June 30, 2019. So it'll be important for the action taken that you designate which
Okay, very
candidate
important.
would serve in which term.
Question, do we have people that are having problems attending? Do we get a quorum for that commission? I mean, maybe that's a question that needs to be
There have
asked.
been some challenges achieving a quorum. We do have some very devoted members that regardless of whether a quorum is achieved, they do stay on to meet with staff. Rusty Garcia has served for a number of years on the commission, as well as Mary Miller. We are in the process of obtaining a new designee from Imperial Valley Housing Authority, and Brawley Elementary School District normally has a seat. Freddie has not been able to consistently attend, but does anticipate a change that will allow him to do so in the future. Mr. Mike Howell with Republic Services, who is also a resident of Brawley, recently relocated out of the area, so that's one vacated seat.
Is that one of these?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other is Mr. Hernandez, who resigned.
We have 3.
And Manuel Salgado.
We have
3. One for to finish the term in 2018 and 2 for 2019.
Okay, so we have 3 positions open?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I know Manuel Salgado also resigned, correct?
Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Howell.
Mr. Secretary, this was not tied to a housing authority slot, it was just a community member.
Okay, so we have 3 positions then.
Okay, so let's get clarification on that, just to clarify that point.
So, Alma, with reference to those that are listed in the resolution, you have, it has not been distinguished which of these terms has 2 seats open. So
2019.
2019 has 2
2019.
vacancies, and 2018 has one. Okay.
That's
So we could fill all 3 positions.
Yes.
We just need to determine which 2 vacancies will go into.
right. Serve a year later
Yes.
or a year from now.
All right.
All right,
Desire on.
but I don't have any.
You know, certainly, Mr. Estrada, since you are in attendance here, would you like to come up and just express your interest here? I mean, I know you've filled out your application, but there are 2 commissions that expire. One is in June 30th, 2018, and there's 2 vacancies, June 30th, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, Council, how you guys doing?
I like it.
Good to see you.
Hey, I've been here in Brawley for about a year. We moved here with my family about, I guess it's a year and a month. We moved here last January. And since we've been here, my goal is just to be in this town, to try to figure out how, I'm from Orange County. I've lived there, born and raised in Orange County. So I'm coming here and trying to figure out how we make this home for us. And part of that, right off the bat, one of the things that we saw was how huge Parks and Recs are in this town. I remember sitting with Sam, Councilmember Couchman.
It's all right,
back
Sam's good.
when I first got here, and it was great to get to talk to him, but one of the things that he said was, man, how many parks we have here. It was an astounding number for a town of the size of Brawley. And so my background is working with students. My background is working with people. And so if that's that feels like it's the lifeblood of Brawley. It's what unifies us as a city. We all rally behind it. I love getting to hear about the high school today, and man, just hearing some of those different things, that gets me excited. I want to see this town thrive. I want to see how I can help to do that. So,
Mr. Estrada, I do have a question with respect. You did mention that you've located here from out of the area.
Yeah.
Are your plans to be here for an extended period of time, or is it a shorter
for
time?
the foreseeable future, I'm here.
Okay. Because there is a term that expires June 30th, 2019. Would you, if you were selected for that, would you be able to fulfill that?
Yeah.
Okay. Very well. I mean, having said that, I would make a recommendation to appoint Mr. Estrada for one of the 2 vacancies expiring in June 30th, 2019.
I'll second
Is
that.
there a second? Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, or any discussion amongst council? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No? Seeing none, motion carries. Congratulations, and thank you for volunteering your efforts. Thank you. Thank you. So we've filled 1 vacancy there, so there's 1 vacancy left. Next, we should, since we do have 2 additional applicants for 2 vacancies, if we could just make the determination or make the motion to approve, either or for the, let's start with the first term ending June 30th, 2018. Is there a motion for?
Is there, and I'm only asking just because of the relation, is there an abstention?
Yes,
for-
I'm abstaining from that vote, yes.
Is there-
Just for clarification, so
Yes.
are we determining which one goes to
Yes.
which?
So when the position is over in June of 2018, is there a renewal at that point in time? Do we renew that for the rest of the year? Okay. If we so desire, if the person so desires it, then that's what happens. Okay.
All right, so is there a recommendation on a person to fill the position through June 30th, 2018?
I know if council member, I'm only asking while we're in discussion, would council member Hamby have any idea just from probably the shorter period of time? Rex,
I
if
don't.
there's a desire on.
I've met Jenny Benavides one time. Seems
Yeah.
like a very nice, energetic person. I don't know her beyond that one chance encounter. Same with Mr. Howdegi. I've met him a couple of times. I've met Victor Estrada on several occasions, and I'm glad that he's chosen to take a 2-year term. But beyond that, I don't have
I think they're all great candidates. I mean,
Yeah,
we're fortunate,
definitely.
we're going to fill them. It's just, if anyone knows of any preference of anyone wanting a shorter term, I mean, that's all I'm asking.
I think I would recommend or make the motion that we appoint Julio Jauregui to fulfill the term through June of 2018, and then we appoint, or a motion to approve Jenny Benavides for the 2019 term. And that way, we get the person to fill that short-range position, and then we get someone to take that longer-range position. Then Julio can decide in June of 2019 whether he wants to continue on that.
All right, so there's a
That
motion
gets him
for appointing Jenny Benavides to the position through June 30th, 2019, and the motion also included appointing Julio Jauregui through June 30th, 2018.
If you'd like to separate them, Councilmember Kastner-Howdiggy can opt out of the vote
Of
for
one and vote for the other one.
or
I forgot
both,
about that.
however you see
Okay.
fit.
I'll separate it. My
Okay.
motion will be separate. I move that we appoint Julio Jauregui for the term, to fulfill the term through 2018, June of 2018.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second, okay. And so, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes, I'll abstain.
There's one abstention, okay, noted.
And
Thank
my
you.
next motion is to appoint Jenny Benavides for the term of starting in 2019.
No,
Or
excuse me, expires.
starts in 2018 and goes through 2019.
Okay, so there's a
I would
motion?
appoint her for that.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and I appreciate your patience. And congratulations to those who will be serving on our Parks and Rec Commission. Thank you.
I'll let him know.
That way Julio has to
All
start
right,
the meeting.
next item is regular business. Item 5B, discussion and potential action to adopt the fiscal year 2018-2019 overall budget schedule. And that's page 71. Who will lead that discussion? Okay, our city manager.
Mayor Nava and Council, on page 71
Thank you.
of the agenda, you will see the draft public meeting schedule. It's that time of year where we begin to kick off the next fiscal year's budget planning. We typically kick off with a mid-year budget review, and that is scheduled for next city council meeting. So you'll see the first date referenced as February 20th, the regular meeting. And then what follows typically is the strategic planning session, general fund workshop, enterprise and special funds, with overall budget adoption occurring at a regular meeting. Council may recall that there are times that you've asked for subsequent discussions to come forward outside of, or in addition to the published schedule. What this does is set dates and times for the larger topic to come forward with prepared data from staff and for staff to gain direction from the council. So it's up to you as to where you wish for it to occur, what time, whether you want to piggyback on an existing public meeting or do a standalone. And council's done it in many different forms over the years.
Comment, yes, go ahead.
I had just thinking about this going into this next budget process, I'm just speaking my personal opinion of, I think the past couple years, it has been a convenience actually to kind of combine the meetings, but I think it's also taken away a little bit from our ability to discuss in a little bit more detail.
Right.
And with, a new team member on the council and whatnot, I think maybe my proposal would be, let's keep the mid-year budget review, I guess, as presented at the next meeting. That makes sense. But maybe the strategic planning meeting to be a standalone meeting. So I'm not going to bark out dates necessarily myself, but have that a standalone. If we could take it back to the EOC, I don't know, that seemed to be pretty facilitative of
It's
kind of a workshop forum.
A great meeting space. The only feedback that's been contrary to that meeting location
public.
is the ability to accommodate the public, the ability to record because there aren't microphones in that setting.
So
That's right.
here's fine. I mean, I don't
But
know.
it's up
Yeah,
to
we
you.
can have a
Unless you
separate
wish.
meeting.
We
It's
can
okay
use this,
here.
and then, by that time, maybe we can work out to where we could use this as sort of the blackboard.
That's fine.
You know?
Sure.
So, yeah, that would be great.
I know one year we had the posted.
Yeah, posted
boards.
boards. Yeah, that would be
That would be
It's workshop
fantastic.
style, so.
So what date in March would, and
I would tend to agree that we should have it as a separate
Yeah.
session
Yeah.
also, because it's too
And-
much to cover with a regular meeting and then the.
And Mr.
My
Mayor-
only suggestion would be just to do it sooner than later,
Okay.
and so, whether that's late February or very early March, I just would like to see that happen sooner than later.
Mr. Mayor, what about, looking at February, obviously we have our 20th meeting, would everyone be open to the week after that, which would be the 27th of February? That'd be the soonest, I think we could consider that.
I have
When
other, I have
I'm
other meetings
available.
on the fourth Tuesday, just so that you know.
On the fourth
Oh, you
Tuesday?
do have-
In the evening?
In the evening.
You do, okay.
What about the
Every
28th?
fourth Tuesday.
What about the
Is
day
it
after?
something you can get
The
out of?
28th I don't have, that's available.
I do have a commitment that day.
What I'm thinking is the following week falls into the week of the fair. I don't know if that's of any
Right.
impact. Plus, we do have our council meeting, our normally scheduled council meeting,
What-
so.
And I have a
What about,
conflict
what
on
about the
that.
26th? That's a Monday. Would that be too? I happen to be open that day. I'm not sure about the rest of council, but I'd like to.
I'm open on the 26th.
I can do the
Yeah?
26th,
Can you do the 26th?
I'm pretty sure it can.
I think.
Luke?
As far as I know,
Yeah.
I can do the 26th.
So the 26th?
What would you like the start time to be?
Will that
We
give
can
them
keep the
enough
start time
though, to
5
get-
PM.
Will you be able to come forward with?
It's gonna be up to us, so it's
Whatever.
really council leading the direction there, so.
Okay,
I'm looking good.
February
Yeah.
26th.
You know, so there's a proposed date of the 26th at 5 PM at the, we'll do it here at the city
Here.
council chambers. Is everybody in agreement with that date?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
fantastic, that's great.
And would council like to see that meeting along with the other workshop dates videotaped and posted on the city website? Because it would be outside of our authorization, which is fine.
I
but
think
just
that'd be
wanna make
great if we
sure I'm
could-
clear.
If we
But
can
it
arrange
helps.
for that, if we
It can
can,
help.
we can, if we can
Yeah,
arrange.
he can
for that.
arrange.
Gotcha, perfect.
We'll see
Is
how
that
we
part
do.
of the
And
contract? or-
No, it's not.
It would be
We'd
in
have to pay
addition to
it.
that, but it's a good way to
That's-
communicate the messaging
People
of
need
the
the
meeting.
message.
That's true.
They better get the message.
So that's the 26th.
Yep.
And then we would have a follow-up meeting.
In March?
The next one would be the general fund workshop.
And Mr. Mayor, and that would be the other meeting that I was targeting that I think should be a standalone as well, versus a combination. And just to further cover the rest of the schedule here, the enterprise and special fund, I think, would be appropriate if we still want to keep it that way to kind of dovetail with an existing meeting.
In May?
Whether that date works or not,
Whether
that's
that
up to,
day
yeah,
would-
but that's the only
Early
fund where
May.
it's generally been pretty darn straightforward. The other thing is, I don't think it
Yes.
stresses, we have quite the time constraints on that discussion as we've had with general fund, which in the
Right.
past.
So general fund workshop would be at a standalone? Maybe we could do that in March?
Okay, general, and
These
for,
require a
That's right.
lot of data crunching.
Keep it in
So-
All of the.
When would you propose, if you could?
We were hoping for as late in April as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
just for
All right, well.
clarification, Mr. Mayor, on, okay, the strategic planning session, that's gonna remain on our regular meeting date? No one in March?
No, it would be on, it's a standalone date, February 26th.
February 26th,
Uh-huh.
for that one.
Uh-huh.
And then we go
now
to
the next
April.
item would be the general fund workshop number 1.
Okay.
And our city managers saying it later in April is
wants to
better
do it
for
Later in
staff
April? Okay.
So,
because it requires a lot more
is
information.
that gonna be a
actuals.
standalone meeting also?
Could it be
That's a
the
standalone meeting also?
I think that's okay.
The last
That's the
week of
proposal.
The last week of April, between the 23rd and the 27th, looks like a,
I have a
Good
meeting on the
week. I don't-
24th as always.
Okay.
Could it be the 23rd also? That-
23rd, we could do it, or the 25th is probably open too.
I'm open on the 23rd.
So am I.
I'm open on the
generally.
23rd
Yeah,
also.
Mondays are-
Okay, so
23rd.
we're looking at the
Mr.
23rd for that.
Luke
one.
Camby,
Yeah.
23rd?
I can do
So the
that.
23rd
All right, so
of
let's do the
April.
23rd at 5
At 5.
PM.
At
And that's a
the- at-
standalone meeting here at the
at
city
this
council chambers?
city
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then,
It was a Monday.
The May Enterprise one will be our regular meeting?
I just threw
Yeah, I
that
think
out,
that
but yeah,
works.
instead of having a
I don't think
separate-
it's as big a
would that work or
discussion.
no?
I think it can
Oh,
work.
wait
The-
a second.
The area that we are
Go ahead.
anticipating,
There's a
I'm
question?
sorry, there's a conflict.
For what?
is
The
it?
SCAG General Assembly is on Monday, April 23rd.
Ooh, well, that's bad.
Okay.
I was gonna
Access
type
Square
it in and,
number one.
yeah, I think a lot of us are going to that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I just hadn't put it in.
Where is that?
then. Okay,
Is that in Palm Springs?
I'm glad you
it's in
mentioned that.
Coachella Valley.
Yeah.
Coachella
Yeah.
Valley, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. What about later in the week, on like the
I
26th?
recall that meeting on Thursday, Friday.
Was
Really?
it Thursday, Friday?
Yes, it
Okay.
SCAG's
May I
So,
stand corrected
so it's
on
later
that?
in the week, it's not
If
on
you-
the
I
Monday?
can look real quick.
It's in May, no, no, no.
It's May, I
It's
think,
May.
2nd.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I think it's
okay.
in May, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know why it came up.
Let me see, May.
Because it shows up
10
on
and
the same
11.
I've
page.
got it here.
Yeah.
SCAG General Assembly. is, I'm
When
sorry.
is it?
2nd through the
Well, you know, it could be the third.
4th of May.
It's always the first,
Yeah, because I think it's you and Paul. I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
May-
General
May
Assembly is May
2nd
2nd, 3rd,
May
yeah.
2nd, okay,
Yeah.
May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Okay, so we are all right with the 23rd of April,
23rd
correct?
looks
Yeah.
good then.
5 p.m.
That's for the
At 5
general
p.m.
fund
I don't know why it
workshop,
came up
okay.
on my-
Okay.
The
All right.
23rd, in May, right? Now
And
we're
so
looking at-
now we're over in May for the Enterprise and Special
Yes.
Funds Workshop number 2.
One of our regular
Now,
meetings
you
is
had
put
some
it-
concern about making it a standalone, or
Um,
excuse me,
The only area that I want to draw out for council's consideration, the water enterprise in particular is one of the more challenged funds that does need some attention. I think as long as we are
Listen.
able to address the topic in May, if we had to bring it back to you one more time in June, that could be done.
Okay.
If you wanted to give additional direction beyond the preliminary cut. So just keeping that in mind, if
That, okay.
I,
so we could do something in May at a regular.
maybe
what-
the second meeting in
The
May would be the
15th.
15th.
Okay.
The
That works for
15th of
council.
May.
That would work,
I-
right?
well, the only, I do have a
That's a
conflict
regular
on that
meeting.
day.
That's a
On our regular meeting
Yeah,
on the
a
15th?
regular meeting, if it's gonna be an extended meeting, that would probably be a problem. I could stay,
We can start early.
We can
start
start
early
earlier.
and maybe, because I have to be in Anaheim that evening, so.
Okay.
Well,
So you would probably participate for a portion of the meeting?
Right.
Maybe we could start at the top of the meeting. If we started at
Or
5.
if you want to do a special, well,
Maybe
the
we
other
could keep a
option-
lot, maybe we could try to arrange for more items come in the
Or it
earlier.
could be even
For the
sooner.
first meeting of that
Or
month
do a
rather than the
separate meeting
second.
for that.
We have.
We could have a separate meeting
Have
for
a
it that
regular
day.
meeting, and the regular
in May.
meeting might
There are
be
5
shorter.
Tuesdays in May.
Or we
That's
can
true.
start it at 3, go to 3 to 5, and then have our regular meeting at 6. I mean, it's a longer day for everybody, but
To you guys.
She's gonna be, she,
I think it might be better, well, for me, I'm thinking
would
so
rather
that
have
we
a
can
different
allow
day,
enough time to discuss all the issues with the water fund. Maybe we could keep the regular meeting, but then have a separate meeting for the enterprise and special funds.
Or can we
If,
effectively?
can.
if that'll work,
This
or if we could
Yeah.
just change the meeting date that week.
but if we're trying to keep that meeting to the same
Yeah.
meeting date, right?
Well, I should be able to attend, it's just that if we try to do both,
It
then
may
it
be
would be
longer.
long,
She's
a
worried
long
about
meeting.
the-
Well, if we start at 5 p.m., that gives us an hour to discuss it. And so my goal will still be to keep the regular portion of it to about an hour and a half. So, it'd be essentially from 5 to 7:30. So,
Yeah.
would that work?
Yeah.
maybe, if we don't
So
get
would that
into a
time
lot
be
of
straight?
discussion
Yeah.
items.
May 15th.
Okay.
All right.
So
So-
what, so you're saying
So May
not do
5th.
the 3 to 5?
No, it would just start at 5 p.m. We would start at 5, and we'll
Maybe we should
present
start
it.
at 4:30.
Would
Can
you
we start
prefer?
I would prefer to
Should
start it
at
earlier.
4.
Okay.
maybe, or something.
What, is there a proposed time you'd like to?
I would maybe 4 p.m.?
4 would probably be okay.
Okay. 4
Four's
p.m.
okay
on the
with me.
15th, would that work
Yeah,
for everyone?
sure.
And that'll
Works for
just
me.
flow right into
Flow
the
into,
regular meeting, okay.
And
Right,
we'll still,
that's
I'll
fine.
still make an effort to try to keep us on
Okay.
pace.
Okay.
Okay?
So
All
now
right.
that we need to adopt.
Sorry
this
for all the delay, everyone.
And
I
then-
know it's
Then budget option.
fun to listen.
I have to go to.
Okay.
Okay, so budget adoption would be June 19th, regular meeting, that's firm. So,
I move
just
we-
to reiterate the schedule, February 26th would be the strategic planning session here at the council chambers at 5 p.m. April 23rd at 5 p.m. here at the city council chambers is where we discuss general fund workshop number 1. And May 15th is at 4 p.m. here at the city council chambers where we discuss enterprise and special funds workshop number 2. Followed by June 19th, 2018, regular meeting where we do the overall budget adoption.
I move that we adopt the schedule.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. So that'll be our schedule. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll post that.
Sorry, everyone, for the
All right.
delay there. All right, so that's been determined. Next item on the agenda is item 5C, regular business. 5C, discussion and potential action regarding request to co-sponsor mobile consulate event on February 24th, 2018, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the main branch library, pages 72 to 74. And we have Marjo Mellon, who is going to be presenting.
We're looking forward to having a really fun time with the consulate and the consular offices. It will be run just like it was at the Del Rio Library, or the Del Rio Community Center and Library, make sure I get that correct. They're going to come set up Friday and then have the event all day Saturday. It's an incredible event where residents or citizens of Mexico can come and take care of their business. People can get a copy of a birth certificate, marriage license, all kinds of different documentation. They have people there who can help them with problems and direct them. And the consular officer, Mr. Huerta Nava, and his IT specialist came, and we will be able to accommodate them inside the library, and we're looking forward to it.
Great. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve, provided all the requirements of public facilities use are met.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a couple questions
Sure.
about it. What are the regular library hours on Saturday?
They're 9 to 5. They'll be totally at the same time.
They'll be within, and then on Friday during setup will be within.
During setup will be during the time that we're open.
Okay,
So
all right.
we won't require any extra city staff or any extra costs.
Okay, all right.
And our IT specialists will definitely be available that afternoon in case we run into any snags. And since I think, the internet runs on magic, that's really good that he'll be there.
And then regarding the event insurance, so the city would be liable if there's any kind of issue there?
It's a sponsored event, so it would be as if we were, hosting the event there ourselves. Uh-huh.
And regardless of whether the consulate purchased the event insurance product, we would still be liable, or?
Okay, so any other applicant that requested this would fill out the same facilities use form and would be required to put down a cleaning deposit as well as present insurance. The request for co-sponsorship is asking to waive the deposit and to waive the insurance. So if anything occurs during that window, it's on the city's policy. Also, just for an item of clarification, this will be a larger scale event than it was at the Del Rio. There will also be outdoor resource tables that are set up on the park property. So it's a larger event. Their concept was actually larger than what our footprint will provide. So it was through a lot of communication that we were able to size their desire to our facility. But the council action that is being placed before the body tonight is to not do the norm, which would be insurance and deposit, and instead waive it and be a co-sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the third time the consulate has requested that arrangement from the city.
And this is the third time, they've done it 2 times before.
Correct.
And have we done this for other people? Waived any of the,
No.
as a co-sponsor, we haven't sponsored an event where we've done that?
The only special events that come to mind are a number of activities that have occurred with downtown-based events. But I would say 98% of the time, our user groups furnish their own insurance.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I think I'm of the opinion that, if it's a nonprofit or something along those lines, that there should be some discretion used there, but I just think, it's a government event. I think they should be responsible for their event insurance, especially since it's a larger target than what a typical park event might be.
Sure.
And as well as the cleaning fee, that's just a deposit.
So if they left behind a type of problem that let's say we had to carpet clean or do something unusual to service, we would deduct it from the deposit on hand.
But from what I gather, we've never had an issue like
We have
that.
not had an issue in the other 2 times.
So it's
that they've
returned.
utilized
It's
this.
returned to them if there's no issue.
Right.
I think it would be reasonable to expect them to provide their insurance or use there is a product, a pass-through product that they could use through the city at a nominal fee.
Exactly.
I think it's a benefit to our residents here in the city of Brawley, though.
Sure.
And we've had a successful event with them in the past. I would still be in favor to continue supporting the event.
It's a co-sponsorship.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
sponsoring it with them to provide this service to the residents.
Yeah.
I don't know that that I think that we should charge them for, whatever that fee is, and I'm not sure what that fee is. But
We haven't had any problems in the prior events, right?
No.
There was no problem.
This is really to address a slip, trip, fall. That's what the insurance provides for. So what they're asking is for the city to assume the risk and not to have the risk transferred. And you may recall, our former Mayor Pro Tem, Helen Noriega, was a very strong advocate for this particular event. And the arrangement has been extended in other jurisdictions as well.
The same arrangement.
It's the council's determination whether you wish to co-sponsor or not.
My understanding, it's been a very successful event, and the 2 times that we've had it before, a lot of participation,
Large
and
turnout.
a lot of people get helped with the event, so I'm.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council?
No.
No?
There wasn't a motion yet.
Was there a motion? I'm sorry. I believe there was.
Yeah, there was.
There was.
Okay. No.
There was,
There
did you
was?
make a motion?
Okay.
I did.
You made the
And there was-
motion. Oh, I'm
and there was
sorry.
a second, yes.
Okay.
There's a motion and
My-
a second. So, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
I also just want to remind you, we have lots of flip chart holders for your strategic plan if you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We may take you up on that offer. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is regular business 5D, discussion potential action to accept substituted bonds for the Malin Park subdivision, pages 75 through 84.
Yes, and our
we'll-
city engineer, Guillermo Cias, will be presenting on this
All
item.
right, our city engineer is presenting. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Guillermo Sillas, Public Works Director. The developer Inland Valley Investments, it is in escrow to purchase Mayland Park subdivision. They are also the developer for Victoria Unit 2, and as a part of this transaction, the original owner, K-Hub Nanian, is requesting to or substitute the bonds that they have been filed with the city. And in order to expedite the process, they are requesting to substitute in the amount equal to the current bonds. And the city is considering to do that and later on do an analysis for the upgrade of this cost of the improvements attached to the final map. And developer is in the agreement to substitute the bonds at the current cost and later on provide the current numbers to before any improvements to be performed on the subdivision. So what is in front of the council tonight is to approve the substitution of the bonds in the amount equal to the current bonds, with the agreement of the developer to later on upgrade those costs and provide updated bonds for before any improvements or any building issuance, let's say.
So Mayor
Thank you.
Melvin, Council, may I just add one quick item? So
Please.
the goal is rapid closure of escrow. Mr. Charlie Schreiber is here in the audience this evening, if you'd like to address him directly. The positive associated with this particular arrangement is it allows the city to release or exonerate the bonds on file for the prior developer so they can move on and pursue other interests.
Right.
And it allows Mr. Schreiber and his partner to become the owner of record and for the time preserve what security is in place at the prior bond amounts. You will have an item coming to you in the future with updated bond values, but in the interest of time, we are proposing this arrangement with the support from the developer.
Okay.
Are there questions here from council on this item?
Just so I'm clear, you're recommending this and Guillermo's recommending this?
Yes.
Okay.
We are exactly in the same position as we are today with the existing developer. There's no
Okay.
loss of position.
No change of position. The bond, what we find with bonds is, we don't even want to go there, but I mean, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And our city attorney has been intimately involved.
That's who I was-
Yes.
Intimately,
Yes,
yes.
in development of the agreement.
Okay.
City attorney, would you like to make any comment to the rest of council?
Sure, actually probably be in a better position because the bonds that are there are stale on, it's an old subdivision agreement.
Right.
It's more than 5 years old, and So when the city under the MAP Act is entitled to recalculate the values and make sure the conditions are appropriate and then get new bonds before building permits issue. So probably in a better position than we would be before. If it facilitates closure so we can get movement, that's
We want
a good
the
thing.
development to occur, and so
Sure.
this is a
Any
positive
other
for
questions
that.
from council?
I just have one quick question about, on page 77, item 3. I think that's the item. Anyway, it says that the city can update the bond requirement value as a security, and there's opportunity to impose restrictions on how the property is developed. What types of different or additional conditions on development are typically added in a situation like this?
That's an engineering question. Typically, new conditions are not added. It's just a question of what's really important is adding new values, because it's those bonds that exist where the values were set on prices in, 2006, Guillermo?
Right,
So
2006.
the prices are way out of whack
Mhm.
now. So going forward, when a new development agreement is entered into, it'll reflect the updated values of what it would cost to build those improvements. But the improvements would probably be essentially the same.
Okay. And we'll receive those updated
Right,
values.
the city engineering staff does that. They figure out, there's a science to it, and they figure it out. And then there's always negotiation about that.
Okay.
Any further questions from the council? And I'll move forward with the, is there a motion to approve the item?
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion here. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That
There's
is
a
for the
sec-
resolution's adoption.
Okay, and this is for, and that's the potential action, right? It's to adopt the resolution.
To adopt a
Okay.
resolution
So would
to
you state that in your
accept-
motion, please?
My motion is to adopt a resolution to accept the substituted bonds for the Mayland Park subdivision.
Okay. Would you repeat your second?
Just for clarification, do we not need to include any further about the change that would happen at a later date
The
in that
updated-
motion?
No, that's actually
No.
included
That's
in
in
the
the
resolution.
resolution.
That's included in the agreement, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and second that motion
Okay.
then.
So any discussion by council? Yes.
Just one further note of clarification, so when the development agreement is updated and new bonds are presented, that action will also come to the council.
Yes,
So we get to see it all
yes, so we'll see
together.
it all, we'll see the final
Thank you.
product.
All right,
That's
there's
the
a
whole
motion
thing.
and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Guillermo. Appreciate it. Thank you, city manager, city attorney, for the clarification.
Okay.
All right, and so the next item will be item 5, regular business 5E, discussion staff direction regarding the preparation and submittal of a comment letter on the proposed remedial action plan for the former Pure Growth facility located at 1025 River Drive.
Thank you, Mayor Nava. As council is aware, the Department of Toxics and Substance Control and Chevron have been in dialogue with the city for a number of months with lead up to this upcoming community meeting. The meeting is being held this Thursday at the Del Rio Community Room. And at that time, we anticipate that an updated presentation will be provided. The document, which is the plan, is available on the website, and we have information directing community members to those resources on our city website as well. The reason I thought it would be helpful to get some guidance from council is at the last council meeting, that was a presentation was made by the DTSE representatives and Arcadis and Chevron. And at that time, we had members of the community coming forward asking for additional detail on other alternatives. Since that time, the report has been uploaded and available for viewing. It is my understanding that the public presentation on Thursday will not just focus on DTSE's preferred alternative or recommended alternative. Now they'll also be giving airtime to the alternative scenario that contemplates removal. There's several options that are presented, but those that were focused primarily on in the discussion were, number one, cap in place. So take the fill that's there, the stockpile that's there, spread it and cap in place. Community members came forward and talked about excavation instead of cap in place, and a desire to have more detail about the alternative for excavation and export versus cap in place. So some additional information is contained in the report. We are expecting that the content will be covered at the meeting. The meeting format, I know there is a conflict for all council members that evening. We do have a number of staff that will be joining me at the community meeting. But the question is, we now know that the other alternative is going to be be daylighted in a different way. You know, it will actually receive more presentation time in the content. So the feedback from our last public meeting, as I walked away, was demand more airtime for the alternative. That appears that it's going to be part of the presentation. So what I was hoping to receive from council was some additional guidance on what type of formal comment letter you would like to see the city present after the community meeting.
After the community meeting, okay.
Would you like city staff to work with an outside party to assist with developing alternatives that are for DTSC's consideration? Do you wish for some other strategy to be employed? And so that was my hope today, was to get some feedback from council.
All right, so I'll just open that up first to council with respect to any comments or any ideas on how we should proceed with this particular matter. Should we wait until the comments are shared by the public at the meeting there, or is there a desire?
Mr. Mayor, my thought on it from the last presentation that we had with Chevron, when they came to present their mitigation plan, as well as we heard from DTSC, it'll be real important not only that we get through that hearing and get the public input, as we might get some tonight. Just myself, what I want to know is there was very little discussed in enough detail as far as the alternatives. So I'd be very interested in that airtime that we're going to get. That also may trigger some additional conversation, I think, on our part, or questions to be answered, so that we can really see what the comparative is. They're apparently saying that there might be some further impacts through excavation and moving because of what it might create. But I think if you guys remember, I did ask about the science and some of the research and some of the history on that, some comparatives that are already out there. This is not the first time dirt's been removed in a public agency. So I wanted to know under, I think, what was the consulting group, or the? Arcadis, yes, is getting some examples. So I'm hoping that that's presented at the next public meeting, and that certainly will help us prepare, I think, our recommendations that we would like to see, even though I hope the public knows we can weigh in heavily, but ultimately this decision, and the jurisdiction lies obviously with a different office, so.
Right, I just want the public to be aware of that. I guess my question to you is, do you feel or do you not feel that it would be more valuable if we had something ready for them at this hearing to present to them, or would it be better to wait till this, it's not a hearing but a meeting, would it be better that we wait till the meeting occurs and then we give our input based upon what kind of feedback we get from the entire meeting that they have and the public that's there? I think right now, a lot of the residents in the area and a lot of the public are asking for removal of that material. We've also suggested some things that go along with an improvement of the looks of the area that they could possibly do with removal or without removal. We would like to see some improvement of the looks and maybe some mitigation factors taken there that might reduce the looks of the whole area, that type of thing. And should we do both before the meeting, or should we wait till after that meeting and then submit a very formalized letter to them with our ideas? I don't know what's best, and I'm looking, I think, for some input.
So our deadline
from
for
staff
commenting is February 23rd, so there is one more council meeting at which a letter, if you wanted to act upon it and for it to be a city council resolution, let's say, there's time for that to occur. I do think it might be helpful to, if I could share just for a minute or two, some observations relative to the process, because
Right.
this is why it gets maybe a little fuzzy as to the best method for addressing. The property is zoned light industrial, commercial, okay? So everything along those railroad tracks has a similar zoning designation. Whether cap in place or remove hotspots and excavate, either of those alternatives will only return the property to a standard that is industrial. Commercial. Whether excavation happens and there is a cap with excavation or cap in place, they both achieve that same standard. What DTSE has expressed to me from a regulatory point of view, that they cannot require anything beyond that. So if the desire is for a residential standard to be met, we would have to work with the city attorney on what type of legal standard could be applied to achieve that.
And then once that comes from, I haven't heard that it needs to achieve that standard as much as the standard is that the city itself feeling comfortable that mitigation has removed the quote risk, and that's done in obviously the safest way possible. So if you mentioned that they're going to bring forward a potential alternative plan, I'd like to hear that alternative.
The only thing that I will say about that is, I think it's a cop-out for them in some ways, because I think what they're saying is this will do it, or this alternative will do it. This is what we want to do, this is what the people want done. It returns it both to the same standard, but see, and so that kind of puts us in an odd position of where we can't win in that argument, because basically what they're saying is they don't have to return it to residential. So they're saying from a scientific basis, that either one of these alternatives is correct. So if you're not expecting any more than that, then we can pick and choose whatever alternative we want to do, and the city and the people really don't have anything to say about it. In other words, we can't make a difference in that situation. So I think it puts us in a little bit of an awkward position because it's not residential to begin with, or because it's not.
It's a budding residential.
It's a budding residential, though, and I think that's part of our argument in a letter that we would send, is that it abuts residential, and we would like to see it brought to a certain standard. We would like the residences to be comfortable with whatever standard that's brought to. Not saying that we can return it to residential, but saying that it does what they feel would be the best thing to do. Now, there may be a lot of other arguments from the scientific side on all of that, and I don't know what those all are.
And that has been the standard response. We're a science-based organization.
Right.
So science tells us that standards are met with either scenario. But one scenario costs $7.7 million, which there was a question, well, what's that dollar amount? Because it was not shared until the report went up.
Right.
So the remove is $7.7 million, but meets the same industrial standard as the cap in place, which is $3.8 million. So this is why the direction is so important to receive,
Right.
because the other piece of it is, if Chevron, as I explored with DTSE, well, what mitigation might you consider beyond the minimum?
Yeah.
They said, we can't impose it, it has to be negotiated.
Right.
They can't
Okay,
impose Chevron has
and
to
here's
agree
my
to.
comment, if I could just add this, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just had a question about the zoning. What would be involved if we were to, or someone were to pursue rezoning that to residential?
They couldn't under the current circumstances.
Well, I don't know that we would meet the timeframes, but I guess my question back to council is, do you think if you went through a hearing process where you proposed rezoning land next to railroad tracks for residential, that that's a desirable land use outcome?
It'd be more. My only comment, it would be this comment, is that there's obviously members of the public and the residents that have been talking about that site for quite some time. We have one chance to get this right. And so I really want to make sure that we're protecting the citizens of the city of Brawley. We're really recognizing their desires, and especially the residents that live in that area. So, I don't live there, so I want to make sure that I'm listening to what their desires are. And again, we have one chance to do this right. I understand that there is, the argument that there's a scientific-based approach to solving the issue, but that also correlates with cost, right? It's sounding that way.
Right.
But I would just encourage this council, let's listen to what the public has to say. That's who we represent. If their comments are in favor of having some firm language in respect to the removal of that dirt. I feel just personally, and as an elected official, that we should listen to that voice. And again, we have one chance at getting this right. So we could either do it right, or we can just go along with what we're being instructed. And had we not asked the questions the other day about alternatives, we would have just been fed one alternative.
Sure.
So that's my comment to everyone here, and really to the people out here. But I would just encourage council, we listen to what the public comments are. If that's the desire, then I would be in favor of supporting the greater voice.
Right, I'm also in favor of that, but are you recommending that we wait till after we have this?
I would,
have this
just
meeting
so they
and then
can-
we develop our letter?
Because we'll
from
still
that
have
point?
time to come back on the 20th
Okay.
after the meeting and determine exactly what it is that we're going to be. That would be my desire.
Mayor Nova, just as one thing for the council to further consider, it is an option to present comments at the meeting verbally and then follow up with a letter afterwards. It just might be something the council wants to consider.
We can voice the
We can
opinion
certainly
right
do
now.
that. We could send a representative, there's a couple different ways we could work on this. We could have staff give the city's observations up to this point, okay, when we go to the meeting. Or we could assign one of the city and council people to go there and make the city's wishes known or make our observations known, and we could do that. Now, that would mean that one of us will miss the League of Cities meeting,
Not necessarily, we
but
just
not
attend,
necessarily. We may be able to do both, depending upon how long the meeting runs and what goes on. So, but that would be, I think it carries more weight if one of us goes and gives an opinion. However, I think we need to decide what kind of opinion we're going to give them. What are we going to tell them?
I would just say that, and this is again my comment, but if you're in agreement, the opinion would be that we're supportive of our community. We're the representatives for, the people who have elected us, and if their concerns are, they're obviously valid concerns, and if their desire is to seek,
complete removal of the material, then we support
then
that.
I would be in support of that. I mean, that would just be my opinion here, but if everybody else expresses the same thing, I would like to be able to, I think there's more voice in saying that in public, and then going back, having
giving them
heard
a
comments.
formalized letter.
Yeah, and so, that would be.
I agree with you on that.
I'm confident that the community would say, yeah, we prefer to have this completely gone. But I have a question regarding that $4 million difference in mitigation costs. Is that part of the negotiation process, is figuring out who's gonna foot the bill for that extra?
The onus for remediation is on Chevron's shoulders.
Okay.
But DTSE has to decide which based on the engineering and the analysis and community feedback, which is the alternative they're going to pursue and require. So it will be carried in its entirety by Chevron.
The only thing else that I would like to say is that from a scientific standpoint, as it stands today, if they cap it as it is, or they spread it out and they cap it, what we found down here is a lot of times scientific ideas don't really work down here because of our weather and because of some of the things that we run into down here. And so my concern there is 20 years down the line, we're stuck with a continuing problem. Excavation and cap might not solve the problem entirely either. I'm not sure that either method is a complete solve for the next 50 years, but I think there is some concern that excavation at least would get rid of whatever that top material is and whatever, and maybe go down quite a ways.
Could I clarify what they've described as the process, just so I don't want to misinform?
But let me finish
Okay.
that. The fact that I think that scientifically what we'll find 20 years from now is they'll find, well, that didn't work, so now what are we going to do?
And that's a good point.
That happens a lot of different times.
And it goes back to my statement and my comment that we have one chance to get this right.
Right.
And I agree. I mean, how many things aren't engineered that say 15-year life, and then in the valley it lasts 5 years? You know what I mean? So it's like
permeable membranes and things. Membranes here
Anyway.
sometimes last a long time, and sometimes the salt eats them all in a couple of years, and then there's all kinds of little things that come up that I can describe.
For council's benefit and our community members present, one of the distinctions that has been drawn by the staff of DTSC is that the stockpile that's there, that was taken off of what is now Goyal's property, so the mound that everybody sees, that stockpile according to the data they have, is 97% clean. So the only thing that would be removed is 3% of that. The excavation would affect surface, ground level, to below. And it would be based on hotspots, so testing that occur and then excavation based on the hotspots. The intent for excavation would they'd still use the stockpile. They wouldn't take the whole stockpile away. So
They'd
that's
still
a real,
fill in
they
the
would use it
excavated
to
spot.
spread it across the
Got
property
it.
and still cap. It would just be with excavation of what is at grade to below grade. If it were residential standard, it would go to great depth. Because it's commercial, industrial, it's a much shorter depth. So I just want to be sure everybody has the benefit of that information, because those are the distinctions they're drawing.
But it's not residential, so, I mean, I don't think we're
Correct.
gonna, and I don't think that right now, we're gonna get it back to residential standards. I think we're gonna be, I think we're gonna be looking at the industrial commercial standard, no matter what that is from the state government side, and we're gonna be, pretty much have to work within that framework, at least right now. And so I don't see any alternative to that. Okay.
Below grade, have they specified how far below grade, or is it just to get rid of?
It's based on when they test, they have isolated certain areas that have come up as problematic. Off the top of my head, without referencing the report, it was, which maybe I shouldn't quote something that is in the report.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a much shorter depth, is what I can describe it as.
Do we
Yeah,
want someone,
like 30
one of the
feet
city
versus
council
shorter.
people to go before them and give the opinion? And I'm assuming that would be the mayor normally, I mean, if he's available, and how are we gonna handle that?
Well, thank you, Sam.
Well,
Appreciate it very much.
It doesn't have to be the mayor, but I mean, it depends upon who's available and who's
I think
wants
we
to do
can divide maybe amongst council members, make that, personal decision on your scheduling, but I think we have a good chance of getting pretty good representation there on the front end, and then those that want to go
Right.
from there.
Right.
The other thing
I
is,
agree.
I am relinquishing the division president position for League of Cities at this next meeting, but I will be starting it, so I can certainly make some adjustments to accommodate any council members that may be coming in a little later.
Okay.
And I would be, I mean, I say that jokingly, but I'd be happy to represent, obviously, the city and its citizens.
I'm sure you.
And just express our support for
I'm sure you could do a
our
fine
community
job with
benefit,
that.
right?
And I'd be
So-
there to support you if it happens soon enough,
Yeah.
we can't.
So the presentation, the formal presentation is scheduled to start at 6:15. They're tentatively planning for that to last about 40 minutes. There will be simultaneous translation as part of the presentation delivery. Then there'll be a comment period where people can enter their comments before a whole audience. And then they're gonna do breakout tables where certain topics have representatives and interpreters at each of those locations. You could submit comments at the individual tables, in the big
When is-
public comment period, or afterwards.
Would the council be, would you be comfortable with having a letter expressing our initial comment, right? And just signed by, I'll sign as the mayor, and then it's presented?
It could be presented by Rosanna.
By our city staff,
Because it sounds like it's starting pretty late, and then it's not. it's
Unless
going
there's some way we could ask them to give the mayor an opportunity to come up and give a public comment in advance of their,
Before
of
the
of
meeting.
their,
I don't know if
even
that's
before
gonna
the
happen,
meeting or
but-
after. But I don't know,
I
I don't think
think
that's
we
gonna
can-
That they're
happen.
like-
I don't
yeah,
think they're gonna
yeah,
give us
during
any leeway on
platform, yeah.
that. That's just, I think they're not gonna allow that. I mean, I don't, we could probably, by the time public comments happen in this whole thing, we could probably go to the League of Cities and come back to that
Well, you could,
meeting.
because
I
there'll
think,
be
I think we're
there'll be
talking
final
9 or 10
comments at the
o'clock at
end.
night
Yeah.
if all things being
This
considered.
is starting at 6:15.
So what's the desire of council at this point, so we can move through this?
I think maybe a letter prepared just in case something happens and we get sidetracked here. I think that would protect us
And
and
we'll have
protect the
representation
public.
there. Okay.
Yes.
And then we'll have representation there.
Plenty of
And then a
space.
more formalized letter after this
After?
meeting, we'll.
Would that
develop
be-
something.
Everybody on board with that?
I'm on board with that.
So that's the discussion we had, and that's staff direction, so is that under?
Do we want
Would
any public
council like the city staff to seek some outside assistance with the topic so that we can bolster substantive arguments, or?
I would just say that maybe that would be best done later, even though it would be a short timeframe. Because if we start that now, who knows what's gonna be discussed there, and so, I know it's preemptive, but I understand what you're asking. It's just, I don't know if that would be a good use of resources at this time right now.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my opinion. What she's asking is if we need outside assistance, devising maybe a type of improvement that could go in.
Who would you suggest that we get to do that, though? I mean,
Someone that's a specialist in reuse.
it's going to take time.
Reuse
More
of
time
there's-
than what we have.
yeah.
Should we do a presentation at that meeting on the 8th?
No, it would just be-
To assist
No,
us
they
with
can-
developing
a
a
letter.
letter that's technically
see.
oriented.
Oh, I see. Hmm.
We can,
Well, why don't we just start with this first comment letter, and then if there's something to address, obviously,
right.
would everybody be all right with that? Yeah,
I think
okay.
we're fine.
So that's the direction.
Do we wanna-
Is there any comments from the public on this item? I know I've allowed the council to discuss it, but is there anyone who would like to make a comment?
Jerry Downer, 1110 Magnolia,
Mr.
in Brawley. So far, I've collected over 200 signatures. I've walked the area, and there's still houses that I still gotta go back with tomorrow. And we have the people sign the petition that we want the complete removal of this dirt, contaminated ingredients. We don't want it there. It's been there 20 years after they closed that, knocked down that place. It's been long enough. The health issue has never been discussed or come out on surveys or anything, but in that area, there's a lot of cancer. And years back, even when Pure Gold was there. So for the future generation, it's not, you go with Chevron again, it's just gonna continue there. There's gotta be a change. It's now. Like you said, do it right the first time. Don't let it happen again.
Thank you, Mr. Guiana. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment on this item? Mr. Reyes?
Eric Reyes, 1128. Like I said, Jerry is passing that just in the immediate vicinity. There's a lot more people that hopefully will also comment as well, but that petition in particular is for those families that live in the closest area to it. A lot of them were self-help homes built through Campesinos Unidos, as you know, a lot of farm workers and everything else, and it goes into it. And they sometimes don't realize the impact of living near those areas can cause, even though they're told, and they say it even in a funny way as to when they describe that area, knowing that they have been impacted themselves, and they know people in that area that have been impacted. And there is a home development coming in, 138 homes adjacent to it. Part of the issues we'd like to have, and you're talking about negotiations, we know that. That's what we want. We want continued negotiations. We don't want this as the final solution, as they're calling it, just to be passed as they presented the other day. $4 million drop in a bucket for a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Chevron. Chevron should be a good community partner. They should want to sit down at the table and negotiate properly with our community as to what we want, what we demand, and what we deserve as well. There are a lot of issues involved. Also, we want further testing. I don't think they did testing before on a property that belongs to where they're going to build the property. What has it deteriorated since the last one? They have a long history of DTSA of meeting with consultations, meetings since 2003, I believe. Luis Olmedo, Comité Civil, provided those dates that the TSC met, consulted, reviewed, and so on with Chevron since the closure of Pure Gold. That's close to over 100 meetings, maybe 150 meetings, consultations, not in person, but meetings, regarding that issue. This is the first time they're having any type of meeting with the residents over this particular issue. And when does it come? When they come for the final solution, meaning Chevron will wipe its hands of it, do what the minimum that they can to get away with saving $4 million while still impacting our community. We deserve much better. You as council members need to make a strong commitment, a unified voice saying that we deserve better, not just as representatives of us, but also as members of the same community, and that we have other people who will be weighing in as well. Our supervisors will be there. They'll be reviewing, hopefully commenting as well. We have our assembly member and state senator and so on also looking into this as well. There's been a lot of outreach behind the scenes as well, so there's a lot of moving factors here. And we know Chevron has stated what they want to do, and they science-based, as you said. There's a lot of sciences that will tell you that science has changed over years, as Sam said. there are thresholds that are changed. This is minimum. It meets the threshold. No one's going to get hurt. Oh, my God, we made a mistake. So that needs to be changed. We need to complete our community, make it whole again. We need to meet the demands of the citizens of Brawley who demand that be taken out for now and for the future. And we'll be there. And it is a public comment. We'll be looking at what Brawley does do. We're hoping it comes out really strong and in favor of what the residents are asking for. There's so much more that still needs to be looked at, factored in. If they waited this long at this point, we can wait long to negotiate to see what's really best for us. And I think that should be part of the theme also, that you do believe in negotiation, but as Brawley also as a willing and partner and others involved, stakeholders be part of that negotiations as it goes forward, not just between DTSC and Chevron as well. Like I said, that final solution, the $4 million difference, it sounds like a lot for us. It's not for Chevron, obviously. If they want to be good community partners, they need to make us whole, sit down with us, make us all happy. You, DTSC, the residents of Brawley, and those from the outside who follow these type of issues in underserved communities like Brawley. Not just Brawley faces it. Like there are many instances of these things happening somewhere and where it happens, and most usually it's places like Brawley. Underserved, low income, people of color, every track census you want to have, this is what's going to happen in those areas. So I hope we continue moving forward, working forward. We like what you've done. There's always more that can be done, and he said you're going to wait, you're going to move forward with something for that day, and then continue before the final comment period ends, so are we. We're going to have a strong say, including those signatures, and then we're going to continue moving forward from that point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this item?
Hi, good evening. Humberto Lugo. I grew up about 200 feet from that facility, so I know the impacts. I remember going to school, the ammonia, and all that. But I'm not here to tell you that story right now. I'm here to echo what Eric said about Chevron. We know that the science might say one thing, but we also know Chevron's climate denier and science, based on their facts, right? What my point, what I want to get across is that I've been talking to the Department of Toxics and the Cal EPA, not about this issue for a long time. And they've expressed to me that they expect the City of Brawley to do this thing right, just like George mentioned. They want City of Brawley to do this right, and they expect you guys to make that decision because, they're just here as an agency to present to the community, but it takes all of us here to say, this is what we want. We want complete removal of this site, and what it could mean. I mean, I know that we've talked about just what's encased within that fence, what's within that fence, but the whole facility is contaminated all the way around it. So those are other discussions that we'll need to have with DTSC. But I think that if we all come in and say, you know what, we want complete removal, we have a good case at getting what the community is requesting at this time. We hear a lot of good happening downtown and other parts of the city of Brawley, and this is one way of giving back to our community and saying, we're making this whole community whole again, not just focusing in downtown, but focusing on the other community, on the east side of Brawley, on the west side of Brawley, and making that change. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yu. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this item? Mr. Gallegos, how are you?
Antonio Gallegos, 890 B Street, representing Brawley American Citizen Club. Eric and Jerry have been working hard trying to get this petition together. You were mentioning the point that that the council in general wanted to do it what the community wanted them to do, and for us, it'd be real strong for you people to make a strong position tonight, and then with the public being there, I think it would be a stronger thing if all of you were to unite together with us and have a strong letter instead of having one later. Like they said, $4 million is nothing for Standard Oil, but we were hoping that you people here today would back us up, and we'll have enough people there at that meeting with the work of Eric and Jerry and the rest of the people working hard at it. And a strong opinion from the Brawley City Council would be really, really appreciated.
No, certainly. And our comment earlier was to have a statement with respect to supporting the public and supporting their desire, and then obviously hearing the comments from the public and from what's shared that night, then have a follow-up letter that's very, very firm in addressing the concerns of the public. So I
Because,
think,
if the mayor's going to show up, he'd have a, he'd be able to speak in behalf of what he sees there, or you people here could kind of vote on it to try to give him the support to express his opinion.
yeah, I think we're united in that same desire. So no, we certainly will be there. I do plan on being there for a time. I know we have a meeting later, or it's actually at the same time, but I'll arrive a little later for that meeting. But I certainly plan on being there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that.
But
there's
what I'd
another
like to
person
say
from
is
council.
just a strong letter from you people would be very, very appreciated. It would help a lot of the committees that are going to be there.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment on this item?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Luis Olmedo. I am the Executive Director of Comité Cívico del Valle. And I'm really pleased to hear the dialogue, and your interest seems that weighing more heavily on being proactive and being decisive about representing the constituents of the city of Brawley. And I think that that's the right thing to do. This is one of those issues that I think is pretty straightforward. The site is contaminated. Had we been a more affluent community, a more affluent neighborhood, I can guarantee you that it wouldn't have taken since 2003, which I'm pretty sure that there was awareness that this site was contaminated many years before that. But by the time that DTSC finally took action, it was probably at a time when they knew that kind of their business had wrapped up, and it was politically timely to come in with a more aggressive enforcement. They've done this with sites like Western Environmental up in Coachella, which was a site that accepted illegal toxic waste. It's not a permitted facility, and it's in tribal land. DTSC allowed that to happen. Excite, they pulled the same maneuver. It wasn't until they said, it's not feasible for us to stay in operation. Then they come back and then make a decisive decision. It's not when the residents are complaining. It's not when the evidence is overwhelming that it's an impact. It's until it becomes politically convenient, for the state to step in. And this is one of those situations. So I really just hope that you take this opportunity and do, represent, the constituents here, because I think that the evidence and the appropriateness of this issue weighs more favorably in the favor of the city to take a strong stance, an aggressive strong stance, and demand, full cleanup. Demand, as Eric and Humberto and others have said, the community needs to be made whole again. And Councilman Couchman, I think you said it right. There are this, I think, importance of making sure that there is some kind of a community benefit here. It's been since the 50s, and let's not go back to that time, but at some point in time, and it's been more than 10 years, maybe perhaps more than 20 years, perhaps back since the 70s, when DDT and DDE was found to be a carcinogen, right? And all these years, when it was found out that it was a carcinogen, the community was still being exposed to this particulate. And the route of exposure is by breathing it, the route of exposure is by coming in contact with it. I would say that Chevron's liability perhaps goes beyond what DTSC's enforcement activities have recommended. It's not just cleanup. It's not just a community benefit. But perhaps maybe they want to take this further if that's the direction they want to take it. And I believe the community has a very strong standing on this. Perhaps there needs to be a health assessment in the area. Perhaps this is a cancer cluster that is occurring in this area, but we don't have that data. There's been no health studies done. Yeah. Also, there's contamination to water. And anybody that says, oh, the water's no good anyway, I don't think they understand the Clean Water Act. Perhaps you might have high salinity, you might have some contaminants, but adding a toxic chemical, such as those present in the site, is a violation of the Clean Water Act. Doesn't matter if we don't consider our groundwater drinkable. There's no bearing with the Clean Water Act. And nobody's talking about that. We're only talking about hazardous waste. We're not talking about the multimedia issue here. There's air issues, there's pesticide issues, there's toxic issues, water issues. There's a lot of issues there. And where's all the other agencies that should be responding to this? They're not there. The reason I share all this is because I think that this is not one of those issues where let's see what happens, let's see what they say, let's try to kind of follow the negotiations. I think that the evidence is overwhelming, as is. The other last thing I want to say is that, you know, I'm very enthusiastic of the fact that this has built so much community momentum. I see it on social media. I see it in discussions. You know, I saw Councilman Warden earlier. You've mentioned it, and your interest in hoping had been there, but had other conflicts. You know, this is very promising, and for us, it's no brainer to be involved because we have been involved. One of my colleagues grew up in that area and has been following it for years now. So this is a good timely opportunity, and we've got our legal counsel and technical experts to do an analysis. And as I have in the past before, I will share our findings, hopefully that they can be useful to you. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olmedo. Anyone else who would like to make a comment on this item? Mr. Navarro.
Good evening. My name is Lupi Navarro. And if I may read something that might be of interest, it was an interest to me. Pure Grow started in the 1940s, and up to the year 2000, they were in business. So that's about 60 years. In 2001, the buildings and structures were demolished, and the site is now vacant and fenced. In 2006, with DTSC oversight, about 15,000 cubic yards of contaminated soil was removed from the vacant lot east of the property. That's where the houses are going to be built. These soils were stockpiled within a fenced area on the former Pure Grow property, covered to prevent dust generation and monitored until a final remedy is approved and implemented. Out of those 15,000 cubic yards of contaminated soil, only 500 cubic yards were removed and transported and disposed of in a approved landfill. The remaining 14,500 cubic yards of soil were spread out over the property. Now, my question, they're going to build 138 houses on a vacant lot that has contaminated soil. That's very hard to believe. And then the property will be, groundwater will continue to be monitored, and the engineered cap will regularly be inspected to ensure the remedy remains protected. It doesn't say who's going to monitor it. DTSC, it took them from 2001 up until now to finally get their feet wet on this problem. Mr. Mayor, you came up with the only solution. We only have one shot at this, and if we fail this one, we failed the people of Brawley. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, everyone. I think the comments that have been expressed are in line with the council's direction. So we'll move on, but thank you very much for coming out here and talking about your concerns. And I hope to see all of you who can't attend the Pure Grow facility conversation in the coming days to be there. So thank you all. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is regular business F. And I think some people are clearing out here, so I'll give them an opportunity to do that. Apparently, they don't want to hear us talk about our council member reports.
I don't know why not.
Thank you all very much.
I don't know why not.
I don't know why not.
I don't know why not.
All right, so next item is item F, discussion staff direction regarding the formation of various ad hoc committees to address priority policy areas as requested by City Council Member Luke Hamby. So I'll let Council Member Hamby lead this item off and see where the discussion goes.
Thank you, Mayor. I am proposing to create 4 ad hoc committees.
Okay, what are they?
They involve a fireworks ordinance creation,
Okay.
a pigeon ordinance creation, a city pigeon abatement program creation.
Are those the same?
They're separate. They're separate items. They are related, but they're separate items, and I'll describe.
Okay.
And
So one
then-
is for keeping pigeons and one is for getting rid of them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then finally, a downtown blight mitigation ordinance creation. These are all requests to create ad hoc committees. Regarding the fireworks ordinance, it would include discussing and coming up with an ordinance and some education materials to go with it. We discussed in detail in January the issue of fireworks, illegal fireworks use in the city limits, especially around New Year's and 4th of July, and when the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
I didn't hear any this time.
And Councilmember Wharton had some really great ideas regarding public education and getting some clarification to community members of what's okay and what's not, and when is it okay. Anyway, I would like to draft an ordinance with those in mind, and either bolster whatever's on the books now for ordinance, and add some enforcement teeth to that, or if nothing is on the books, get the ball rolling in that regard.
Okay.
And I think,
Would you be open to this? I agree. We've had the conversation with respect to fireworks, downtown blight. Pigeons, not so much, but certainly we can discuss what we can work on. Would you be open to having each council member here assign somebody from the public, and they could be part of that of each of these ad hoc committees? And then at that time, we would present them with any information or ordinances that are currently in place and seeing how their ideas can help shape the future ordinance. Would that be something you'd consider?
And as far as ordinance creation, how does that work with a community member that's?
Well, they would suggest we would provide them whatever's in place now, and if there's anything in addition that needs to be added, or if there are items within the ordinance that maybe could be more strongly featured and strengthened, then they can highlight those. It'd still come back before council for a full agreement, and then we would direct staff at that point. So there's a few steps that we'd have to follow, but I was just talking about the initial step, forming the ad hoc committees that you're desiring, just to help support your desire here of improving these things. But my question was more of how do we assign members to the ad hoc committees, and I would be open to assigning somebody, each council member assigning an individual for these particular ad hoc committees. Would that be of interest?
So you're saying a council member and a community member on each ad hoc? Is that what you're?
We could do that. I mean, we can certainly do that. Or we can just assign somebody. For example, you select a person. Councilmember Howdigi would select a person. Councilmember Couchman, Mayor Pro Tem Morton, myself. We would select somebody, and somebody could lead the discussion within council if you choose so. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it, but that would be one.
Mr. Mayor, I want, just for clarification for the public, just so they know, many of these issues that you brought up, they're handled through the council process to begin with, without having to form an ad hoc committee. if typically ad hoc committee, I would think would be formed for, let's say, a real vexing problem or an issue that we can't solve by way of ordinance. But so first and foremost, what I would suggest is, because this is a little bit different. Instead of having multiple ad hoc committees, it becomes difficult to track progress and measure success and all that stuff. Maybe having one to confront all of those topics. And then that might be a better use of time if we do appoint, or select some community members. But the other thing I would encourage, again, is that kind of peeling the onion here. You can bring these topics as a council member, as we have, meeting after meeting, and reviewing maybe what's in our ordinance, obviously seeking advice, obviously, from our city attorney, and bringing forward agendized items that we can knock out.
That's
one at a
another
time,
option,
so.
certainly, and I would agree with that. And typically, ad hoc committees are used for real vexing issues, as Mayor Pro Tem Morton has stated. But the other option you have, Councilmember Hamby, is identifying for example, the 4 items now, maybe putting one item that's of greater interest now on the agenda for discussion amongst council, and then we can have staff provide the current ordinance, discuss what what the concerns are from the public, those sorts of things. So that's another option as well.
My main concern is not, is trying to do the heavy lifting without occupying too much staff time, because I know everybody's stretched to the limit right now. So with each of these, either ordinance, ad hoc committees, or at least abatement program, my thought was to I'm happy to be involved in each one, and I was thinking of different council members who have expressed interest or some level of expertise in at least a couple of these that I was thinking would be helpful.
I think the fireworks, for example, I would almost separate that, because I think there's just high agreement amongst the community and us that, and this is, I hate to simplify an issue, but the remedy, there's only one remedy. There has to be consequences that are so severe that it might deter someone from wanting to use illegal fireworks. And I know our police chiefs here and maybe can speak to that. Other than that, it's probably virtually impossible to somehow proactively keep that from happening, unless, again, like I said, the punishment's so severe. So, I mean, that would be an example of something. So I'm just thinking aloud here, as well, that, maybe to form an ad hoc.
Some policy alternatives that could be out there from an enforcement point of view, that whatever the entity is chosen. League of Cities ran an article on the use of drones and using drones in connection with illegal fireworks. It's a controversial method, but our struggle is that the folks who do report won't report the location. Nobody wants to be the reporting party.
What if I send you up in a drone with a camcorder?
I mean, there are methods for or beefing up significantly our staffing levels on those days. When we know around those special and being sure we have the political support for enforcement.
Right. So I think Mr. Wharton is right that that is it's a separate issue, and certain times of the year it is very important. It's very vexing, as you said, for people with pets or for people with PTSD or so on and so forth.
Certainly.
I don't like it.
So I think that one definitely would. I think we should utilize some special care on exploring what we have on the books, using the help of Mr. Smurden to figure out what we can do in the way of beefing up the.
Can I suggest? I prepared an ordinance for Calipatria when it was the only city in the county that allowed fireworks. It's the strongest one in the county by far. And Calipatria literally would burn down every 4th of July because we were the only city that allowed it. We have a very, very strong ordinance. We had a program that we did every 4th of July. It essentially involved every single police officer, every single reserve, every single firefighter rolling around town all night long and citing people with $1,000 misdemeanor citation. And we did that 1 year, and things calmed right down. But that ordinance, all you have to do is somebody has to say, Bill, bring us that Calipat ordinance, make it fit for Brawley. I can do it tomorrow.
Wow. Well, that would be
years ago.
I think that would be a good step in the right direction. I think what you said, Donnie, about education, I think that would be very doable and important at certain times of the year, just to get the word out there. In case you don't know, here's
Yeah.
what's legal,
It
and
could
here's
be-
the time frame for it to be legal. Anything else is not.
And it maybe that's where we can tap some of the resources that we do have access to, such as like TNT Fireworks, who's a vendor, and there are limited number of vendors, and maybe they are the ones who are
Do outreach
required to
and
do some of that.
They are required
because
as
they
part
do
of our
that.
current ordinance.
But maybe part of it is a 15-second social media commercial stating, hey, this is what you can do and what you can't do, and here's the consequences here in the city of Brawley, something of that nature. So, but if you wouldn't mind, Councilmember Hamby, I would like to meet with you. Maybe a lot of these things we can get ironed out and then bring it back to our next council meeting that are a little bit more defined.
Okay.
Would you be open to
Yeah,
that?
I'm up for that. If you would, if you don't mind, I will just run through
Sure.
these quickly so
Sure.
that they're on the record. In addition to
Certainly.
the fireworks ordinance and education, the pigeon ordinance that I would like to see come to fruition deals with. And other cities have enacted ordinances along these lines that there's a preamble that states the health issues and the nuisance of feral pigeons, and what it would speak to is getting business owners, especially in the downtown area where we have a lot of pigeon population, ordinance would require them to make sure that their buildings are sealed in ways that the pigeons cannot enter their buildings and take up residence there, create harborage for the pigeons. I think I heard a figure of $50,000 worth of pigeon damage at the Brawley Playhouse Theater the second time around. There are a couple other storefronts downtown that have had tens of thousands of dollars, partly due to pigeon activity. So I think it's a vexing enough issue that it should require some study and some action on that part. And it sort of goes in hand with the downtown blight mitigation issue. And I know that Mayor Nava, you have some. You've been teasing some radical ideas for downtown. So I think it could probably go hand in hand with that if your ideas include fixing up or maintaining what's there currently. If it doesn't include some kind of demolition and starting fresh.
I think that's a great item to add and strengthen the plan.
Okay.
So and I'll talk about
Great.
a little bit about what I'm doing. But that's fantastic.
And
That's
then-
why I'd like to be able to sit down and talk to you about some
Sure.
of these things. I think they're going to go online. So.
Perfect. And then the last thing was a city pigeon abatement program, and I talked briefly about this, I think the first meeting in January maybe, about creating an abatement program that would include placing feeders throughout Brawley in strategic locations, and these feeders would be stocked with ovo feed. It's ovo control. It's pigeon birth control. Essentially, the birds eat the feed. It doesn't kill them. It just makes their eggs. They won't create an embryo inside the eggs. Within a few years, if it's implemented strongly enough, it will drastically reduce pigeon population in a very humane way. So those are the
Planned
four.
pigeonhood?
Yeah, planned pigeonhood.
Planned pigeonhood.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got it.
So, learning the ropes, being the new guy, I may not be going about it all the right way, but those are some issues that people have brought to my attention.
And they're valid concerns. I mean, we do have, to some extent, a pigeon issue. The bigger part of it is that it's not cleaned frequently, right?
Sure.
When businesses are out there and there is that pigeon droppings everywhere. So I would very much like to sit down with you, Councilmember Hamby, and maybe incorporate some of your thoughts and ideas into what we're all really collectively working
Great.
on, is developing the city, developing downtown, seeing improvement, beautifying our community.
Strategy workshop.
Yeah, in the strategy workshop's also a very, very good time to express all those things. But even before then, I want to have something to present there
Sure.
too. So.
Yeah.
No, good stuff. So, did you want to set up a time to meet this week?
Yeah, that would be great.
I am open. I know that our week is probably. What is your? Are you busy tomorrow?
I'm busy every day.
Right?
He'll make time.
Yeah, I can make time.
Is the afternoon
The
good
afternoon
for
would be
you?
better for me than.
What's a good time, like 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 o'clock.
Why don't we meet at 3 o'clock here, and
Great.
then we can maybe take a walk downtown.
Perfect.
Yeah? Okay. I'll meet you
Great.
here at 3 o'clock. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. So thank you, Councilmember Hamby, and I was joking about the,
The what?
the planned pigeon.
Planned
Well, that was, it fell off, it rolled off my tongue. That was a good one.
But it is
All right, thank you very much. The next item is a public hearing, and it's starting with a discussion potential action to approve formation to establish Community Facilities District, CFD 2017-01 for Rancho Porter Specific Plan Area, and that's on pages 85 through 116.
This item is recommended for continuation to the March 6th City Council meeting.
Okay, so
Continue.
do you need a motion to continue?
No.
No, just stating it's being continued?
Re-notice.
It's being
March 6th?
renoticed and continued to
All right,
March?
so we're not going to say.
All right.
We're not talking.
So that includes 6A, 1, 2, and 3, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next item is departmental reports, and that's 7A, record of building permits for December 2017 in the city of Brawley, prepared by Oscar Escalante, interim building official, and that is pages 117 to 118. It's just for your,
Big whole bunch of them.
yeah, there's just for your own,
Oh, yeah, I saw you there.
yeah. And next item is departmental report, monthly staff report for February 2018 by Shirley Bonillas, Personnel and Risk Management Administrator on page 119.
Honorable Mayor, council members.
How are you, Shirley?
I am fine, sir. Thank you. Audience, Shirley Benias, Personnel and Risk Management Administrator. Page 119 of your council agenda is the monthly staffing report for the month of February. But before we dive into that, I got a couple of highlights to give you. Please set the date of March 21st, 2018. It's our annual Employee Appreciation Luncheon. And it's going to be held at Hidalgo Hall or Salon. And we've got it scheduled from 11:30 to 1:30, which is our standard time. So March 21st, 2018. And you're encouraged to whatever sports jersey you would like to wear. Wildcats, Eagles, whatever you would like to wear. We're kind of in between sports.
Raiders forever.
We're in between
Oh, man.
football and baseball, so we're just going to do a general sports thing.
Okay.
So that's March 21st,
That sounds like
Hidalgo, 11:30 to 1:30. And back to the report, if I may, Mayor. Just a couple updates. We do have an estimated start date for the planning technician. The final step was the physical that was completed today. I don't see anything to prohibit that start date of February 9th. And then the assistant chief of the wastewater treatment plant, again, physical today. I don't see any holdups. He will need to give a 2-week notice. So his estimated start date will be towards the latter part of February, February 26th. We did have the dispatcher start, so we have 2 filled to the 4, and we have 3 in backgrounds. And we feel that they're might not be as viable as we were hoped them to be, so we have opened up the position on a continuous filing. So people can continually just put their applications in. When we have a large enough pool, we'll hold interviews. Any questions that I may answer?
Any questions from council? None? All right, well, thank you.
I
Oh,
do have
go
one
ahead.
question. About the, under the heading of police,
Yes, sir.
full-time graffiti abatement.
Yes, as a temporary employee.
Okay, that's a temp employee.
Yes, sir. The bottom portion of the report is where our part-time, temporary, and limited term. We have 3 limited term positions. They're associated with a grant through the library, the Lambs Bus, the large RV that promotes literacy throughout the Imperial County. They're limited term based on funding of that grant. That's why they're listed down there. All others are either part-time listed down there or temporary full-times.
So we're currently advertising for the vacant police officer positions also?
Constantly. We receive applications. Chief and I are just working on a date right now to go forward with another set of interviews. I have 4 or 5 applications, so we'll be holding interviews again. We still have the 3 vacancies. 2 in backgrounds, Chief, for police officers? 3 in background for police officers. Hopefully, all three will be viable, and we'll be giving conditional offers in the next probably 60 days. It's a longer process for the backgrounds on the police officers.
Thank you.
All
You're
right.
more than welcome.
Well, thank you. Any other
Thank you.
comments, questions? All right. Well, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Shirley. We'll move on to city council member reports, and we'll start with Mr. Luke Hamby. Councilmember Hamby.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended a new council member training in Sacramento during the last council meeting, and so I was not here. I learned a lot, and I got to see the state capitol building. That was a pleasure to see that. Even ran into some people from Westmoreland while I was there. Who knew? I attended the Hidalgo Society installation of officers this past Friday night. It was enjoyable, good food. And while I was there, I was approached by a woman from Calipat. I don't remember her name because there was a lot of background noise, but she had a comment about our city streets, that she drives through Brawley a lot. She doesn't like the condition of our streets and that we don't have enough lighting and enough striping. So she said to be sure to pass that on. I attended the Pioneer Day event at the Pioneer Museum on Saturday, played some music there, and I got to see Mr. Couchman branding pieces of wood to give little kids. He offered to brand me, but I declined.
Cost us a lot of audience.
That's pretty funny.
No, it was fine.
I'm glad to see that Victor Estrada has signed up for the Parks and Rec Committee because he has expressed a lot of interest to me in the past in helping out with the parks as he did here tonight.
That was, sorry to interrupt, but that was one of the greatest intros when he came up here. You notice that?
Yeah, that was very chill.
Yeah. So what's up? Hey, what's up?
So I look forward to working with Victor on the Parks and Rec Committee. Along those lines, we're moving forward with a project to improve Thornton Park, and I believe it's a good place to start with these improvements on with community volunteer involvement, because I don't think it gets a lot of team sports activity, if any, and it's certainly in an area that a lot of people drive by and a lot of people use. So I think it's the right place at the right time, and I hope to maybe address Hinojosa and Guadalupe next, depending on what happens with Guadalupe Park. Thornton has a range of issues, including issues with irrigation, broken irrigation, dead trees, dirt patches, and there's a lot of community volunteer interest to improve it. And so I have gotten some plans, some schematics for the irrigation system, thanks to Rosanna, and so we will be looking forward to working with some city staff and employees to figure out what the issues are there, and with volunteer help, make those better and get green grass growing there again. I have been approached by a few community members about being accessible, and of course, I think we all try to do that. And so, along those lines, I am going to make myself available 2 hours a week for office hours, 1 hour in the morning, maybe a Wednesday morning, and 1 hour on maybe a Friday afternoon. And I will make those clear on social media as we start those up. And I will probably use local business like maybe Brownie's Diner or Asagio. Is it Asagio's now? Not Aspen any longer.
Yeah,
or maybe even a park bench by the library to meet, to be available 1 hour twice a week to meet with whoever
What about
wants
Kelly
to talk
Park?
about.
Kelly Park,
Where's Kelly Park?
next to the fire station.
Oh, okay.
Or Starbucks.
It's one bench out there. That's it.
One bench.
Yeah, really, that's it, right? I mean, there's just one bench.
That's
there.
that's one of our.
That is the park, though.
Is that one of
Yeah,
our
it's good
20?
grass.
That's one of our 20 parks.
Yeah, that's park
Yeah.
land. Yeah.
Okay.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pigeon problem there?
Kitchen.
Okay. Pigeon problem. Maybe you can start there.
Oh, the pigeon problem,
Yeah.
okay, pigeon abatement.
Yeah.
That may be the right place to start.
Right?
Or Cassie Park, I know
Yeah,
Mayor
yeah.
Nava's partial to
That's-
Call Kelly.
Cassie Park over there.
It's got other, besides pigeons, it's got other stuff there too.
Someone asked me about the tree program for disadvantaged communities. And so I was just hoping to maybe get some additional information about that. I had read an Ivy Press article, and I think it said something about that the program would be implemented beginning in February and finishing in March, so I don't know.
So, if I can give it now, if you'd like me to now?
Sure.
The applicant of record is the city of El Centro. They led the effort for the region. City of Brawley, as well as the school district, is the recipient of 350 trees.
Mhm.
Those trees will be planted in public parks and school district properties. We have a kickoff meeting that I just received a communication this morning from the project manager. So I believe the date is either late February, early March
Okay.
to talk about deployment.
Placement and,
So I don't have any more information than that.
All right.
When the city originally expressed interest, we did have some dialogue about the types of trees that could survive within our city that we have experience with.
Mhm.
So Parks personnel were involved in identifying the types of trees that would be suitable. The city of El Centro attempted on 2 occasions to obtain the grant, and the second time they were successful.
Excellent.
So we're pleased to be a part of a regional application, and hopefully we'll have some more information for you in the future.
great. Additionally, as was mentioned earlier this evening in public comment, I've had a lot of people asking me about the 8th Street 111 repaving schedule. And did you say that there is something in the works for that particular?
Well, there's certainly money allocated, and then we're going to discuss it at our strategic
Okay.
workshop as well, yeah.
Okay.
So 8th Street, just as a fact that might be helpful, out of the $9 million relinquishment award to the city for lifetime maintenance obligations, $2.5 million, if I
Is
recall
dedicated, mhm.
correctly, was dedicated to 8th Street, and then the remainder, when they evaluated the 8th Street portion versus the Main Street,
Mhm.
Main Street was the larger
Sure.
amount,
Yeah.
6.5.
Okay, great.
But the strategic workshop is the perfect time to discuss that item, so.
And that's the one that's slated for
Correct.
the next
Yep.
council meeting? Okay,
Yep.
great. Perfect.
February 26th.
February, yeah, the
Second-
26th. I'm sorry, second.
The second meeting on the schedule. The first one is mid-year budget review.
Okay. But the next special meeting, okay.
Yes.
I had someone approach me about adding the city boards and commission agendas and minutes onto the city website.
They are there posted as part of the agenda package. Council receives them quarterly, and it's back up to the city council agenda.
Okay, okay. And then minutes, are those also included?
The
in that?
minutes come
Are
to
part of
the
agenda?
council as in a batch.
Okay.
We get them all together. Is there a desire for an entry that would mirror the department? So more, for instance, that Parks and Rec Commission, when you go to the Parks Department page, that you get to see the Parks and Rec Commission minutes, or that just where to find it on the city website?
Currently, when you click on city council, that's where you find our agenda and our minutes.
Right, and
Okay.
that's where you would find the quarterly
So,
minutes.
so maybe it would be more user-friendly if each department's minutes and agendas were under their tab. I don't know.
So for Public Works, it would be Airport Commission, for.
It would just be a lot of, it's time consuming.
It's
to-
time
yeah,
consuming to
uh-huh.
move that around like that.
But currently, all.
Maybe does the individual that asked, do they know that it is
That it's
accessible
there
on a
already.
quarterly basis? Just a question.
They probably don't, because they're saying that those minutes and agendas should be posted online, so they probably don't know that it's available.
So maybe inform.
So, but currently, when you click on city council, the tab for agendas and minutes, that's where you would find all the
Right.
commission.
Right, where they're coming to council, we grab all commissions and update the council on a quarterly basis with all the minutes from those meetings.
Okay.
They're included in the map.
Maybe they can, though, maybe what we can do in those.
Committees and commission staff.
Or, yeah, just have
one.
it broken down, even if the entire packet is there. In other words, it's just it's another link. That way it's more, it's clear to somebody who's looking for the meeting
boards and
minutes.
commissions,
Yeah, something like that.
yeah.
Click on
Separate tab for
it whenever,
boards and-
That way it's already, and it just directs them to the particular
Listen,
packet.
Every.
That'll be
each,
the easiest.
Like Public Works has airport, Parks has.
Right.
Park,
Yeah, but they would still link back to the complete packet, and then they could search through it, because it would be included in there.
Right, we could probably do it for all, like, even the public agenda for personnel appeals commission, but there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
that are
That's a
on
lot
there.
of things, but
Yeah.
they're all there though, right?
Yeah,
We
boards
meet
and commissions.
the requirements for Brown Act.
I understand.
The goal is to make it accessible
Yeah.
and have its own standalone.
Yeah.
We just need to figure how we
Okay.
can work.
Okay.
I
Well,
think that,
and,
just when I observed too, is because they're only posted or presented to us on a quarterly basis, that is a little bit confusing, because sometimes people know that, for
There's a-
example, Parks and Rec meets every month on a certain day, or how often do you?
Every month.
Every month on a certain day. So you go in there to see what was discussed, and you don't find it, and you don't really know when you're gonna get that
For
minutes.
maybe 3 months.
So I'm wondering if maybe they could be posted right after they're presented at the meeting. Would that be a problem?
What we do is, as they're approved, basically, in mirror kind of what you guys do for council, what we do for council meetings, where you would have a tab that would say boards and commissions, you come down and say Parks and Rec Commission, agendas and minutes. So it would have the same kind of setup. We just need to design it with.
Right, that in mind, and just see
That
what
might help
it
them,
would
but-
require as far as time, commitment too, from
Yeah,
staff.
But it's not monthly.
But I just don't want to, I want to make sure that if there's an easier process just to get the
I can
information.
talk
But it's-
to Armando tomorrow.
Okay.
and see
Would
if
it be
we can-
difficult to have them posted monthly right after the meetings?
Everybody has access to their webpage, somebody from each department, so.
Would they be able to
For
post them in?
example, let's say Parks, Rachel has access to their webpage, so if we do a tab for agendas and minutes, she can post them on
She
there.
can post them monthly.
I would
Yeah,
just think,
when they have their
it's,
meeting.
it's a lot more user-friendly
Yeah.
for everybody, to be able,
Right.
like, as an example, even for me, because I'm the alternate, and if I don't make a meeting for Parks and Rec, I would like to see what was discussed, what was in the agenda, and what was discussed,
So you should be receiving the agenda as the alternate.
okay.
You should be
I
receiving
should.
it no matter what, because whoever the council designees are, you should be part of the distribution list for
All right,
the
so-
seated commissioners.
We're on council member reports, so the desire is to get, if you can
And
do
we'll
that,
look on
please.
that, yeah.
Any other
That's a
items
good
there?
idea.
Yeah, sorry for taking up so much time. Just two more quick items. We have, I think, Rosanna, you gave us an org chart, a very basic org chart of high-level staff, is that right?
Everybody, I gave you the department, citywide departments, so residents, council, city manager, city attorney, city clerk, and then all the departments that fall below, and then their next reporting layers.
Okay. I think it would be helpful, and I don't know how difficult it would be to put something like this together, but a city staff org chart that we could all have a copy of that includes names and positions of the staff, because right now it's just positions, at least the chart that I saw.
Are you looking for rank and file all the way through management, or are you looking for just management?
Personally, I would love to see everybody that works for the city, because, as the new guy, I don't know everybody that works for each department.
This
And
is Sam Couchman. Sam,
It takes a
Sam,
while.
good to meet you.
I still don't know everybody.
No, I agree. Look, I've talked about that many, many years back, and I don't know how difficult it was then, and I don't know how difficult it is today. But I know that there is a payroll system that's being considered, so we can help improve that, and I think it's a time clock system. So that may be, maybe we can ask IT to see if that is part of the system, where it's easier to, you know, to view who,
I think it's probably easiest if we did department by department and
Sure.
did an org
Yes.
chart for
Yeah.
the
That
would be
department,
good.
Which I know we
Org
have
chart.
it for public works. We have it for a number of departments.
I've gotten a
We
few
just
of
need to
them.
repopulate the names.
Just maybe something I can offer. There is a citywide directory that has by department, the employee's name, their position within that department, and their contact information. If that would be beneficial, the HR software, Rosa and I have both been part of the discussions with Armando. Yes, it will provide a database that hopefully we can extrapolate an
Right.
org chart complete with names and positions. So for now, I think the short term one might be the company, the city directory that has the names and the positions. And then when we get to the HR software component of the time clock keeper, then we can get that report out.
and maybe even at that point, if it incorporates pictures, would be useful. I mean, it just.
And the
Yes.
city
Yeah.
directory is available to us right now?
I update that as often as I possibly can with
All
any
right.
new changes. So yes,
Okay.
I can
So we'll
get that
work
out
on it.
tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
you.
That
And then
Any other-
one last.
Any other items you'd like to
one
report?
last item.
It's a 30-minute report.
I know, I apologize. I would like to discuss maybe adding an item to the next agenda for a discussion, a Brawley means business opportunity to brainstorm 10 ways Brawley staff or policies can make Brawley a more business-friendly and attractive city. And I would like to request that each council member and the city manager maybe come up with 5 items each as homework to share at the next meeting, ways that we can improve Brawley's business climate in smaller or larger ways.
I think that's a great idea for the strategy workshop, and to incorporate something like that, that would be the perfect venue for
Okay.
that. Yeah, let's incorporate that.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all for me. I
Thank you.
apologize
No,
for
no worries.
the
I think
lengthy. I was
we started
channeling
on the,
Sam. I was channeling Sam Couchman there. For
We
a-
started on the 6th, and we ended on the 8th. All right. So,
I'll try to keep
council
it-
member, how did you?
Okay, I'll try to keep it a little bit more brief. I did, it seems like, I mean, we hit the road running this month with all the different activities that we had with the beginning of the new year. I was able to visit some of the local business owners, going in and talking to them while I went in and ate some of their food and drank some of their drinks over. I visited Patty's on the Rock, and I visited with the owner also at Inferno. And I also I talked to a few people that are considering opening businesses in Brawley, and provided them with some information and referred them to the Brawley Chamber of Commerce for information also. And also, as my new part of my new duties as the liaison, I was I learned a lot actually from attending some of the other meetings that I had not been privy to, the Parks and Rec meeting and then also the chamber meeting along with Sam. And so those were very interesting. I think both of those commissions or committees are doing excellent work. And I also attended as part of my liaison, I saw that I'm the United Way rep, so I thought I better attend that fundraiser this weekend. And that was really interesting and a lot of fun. They have the horse races incorporated into the fundraising, so it does make you feel a little like you're at the Del Mar. Not quite.
A little bit.
I didn't really win any money. I lost more money than I won, but, and let's see, and also we had, Rosanna and I were able to actually visit some of the departments last week, and I went and actually met in person a lot of the employees, because like you indicated, sometimes you see their name on the org chart, but you really don't even know, or you might have run into them once or twice. So that was really beneficial for me to go into their areas where they work and see what they're doing and have a little bit of time to talk to them. So thank you, Rosanna, for escorting me around. And also was able to make some of the events this week with the Pioneer Memorial Hospital ribbon cutting for their new surgery center, expansion of the hospital, and also the Hidalgo Society installation, and I think, I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, I made the attended also it was called the Brawley Chamber event, but it was an Imperial at the Ricochet, because
That explains it right there. It's a ricochet. Yeah. It
And
ended up over there.
One of the
Yeah.
owners is from Brawley, and he's also a Brawley Chamber member, and that was really nice because it really showed some cohesiveness there between the Imperial Chamber and Brawley Chamber. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Couchman.
Yes, I attended the monthly Chamber of Commerce meeting, as I usually do, as my representative, Norma was there.
Is your witness?
I also did the mixer out at Ricochet, and it was really a mixer for Joel Gonzalez's racetrack, the racetrack that he's operating over there, and the other things that are going on over there. And it was a real well-attended mixer for the Imperial area, although it's a little bit outside of the Imperial area also, but I mean, it is an Imperial. So that was a great event. They had a lot of people there from both El Centro, Imperial, and Brawley. And I attended a mixer at the Chamber for Rollins. They're a marketing firm doing the Ag Expo event, or the Ag Expo event that will occur at the fairgrounds. And so I attended that mixer at the Chamber, representing the city for that one. I attended the Pioneers Days event out at the Pioneers Museum. We did the blacksmithing, as we normally do, and we branded 315 pieces of wood for the children. They actually help us brand them. Luke came in later. He had his instrument and everything. He didn't play. He didn't play for us.
He offered to brand mine.
Yeah. I did offer to actually brand the instrument. Right. We would have done that too, but we try to get volunteers from the public, but nobody volunteers, and so to be branded. So that's the way it goes. But we have a B now.
It's very racist.
We have a Pioneers Memorial, a Pioneers Museum brand, and we have a B now. So we can do either one.
But it's backwards when they put it on? No.
No, it'll be right. It'll be right for you.
Yeah.
I attended the Hidalgo installation of officers. During the weekend. That was a nice event, pretty well attended. Most of us were there. It was a good event. I attended United Way Night at the Races after the Pioneers Museum event, and that's a great event. It's a fun event, and it does raise money for a good cause. United Way. I did touch base with several people that have from Brawley that were back visiting. Gary Blevins, I believe, and Debbie Dooley, his wife, and I also saw Mrs. Dooley, which was the Herschel Dooley's wife out at when it was
Share,
Mayfair.
Norma. What's so funny?
No, I ran into them also.
Oh, okay.
Did you run into them? And she says she's expressed an interest in moving back into town. A lot of people that leave Brawley want to come back, so she has expressed some interest in that. I went to a career day at Westmoreland Elementary School. Now, I was invited as the mayor.
Really?
Except that by the time when the invitation went out, I was the mayor. When I got there, I was not the mayor.
Hey,
so
maybe you're the mayor of Westmoreland. You don't even know.
Yeah, I could be. But I noticed that we did a good event over there, and there were some people there for the elementary school, and I got to speak to the 5th grade classes. And I showed them some historical pictures of Brawley and Westmoreland. And
What did you show them? What did you show them?
What?
The lizard.
No, I showed them historical pictures.
Westmoreland?
I showed them. Yeah,
I know
showed
stories
them
of
a picture of Main Street on Westmoreland, which had one of the pharmacies was there, and I believe there was another store there. And I showed them this picture, and they were very impressed. And the biggest question they had was, why are all the cars black? This was like 1926, and we explained to them, that was a popular color, but it was also a color that Henry Ford used on a lot of his vehicles, and people that didn't have a lot of money bought a less expensive vehicle, and they were mainly all black. So that was what happened. So we did that. That was a good event. Also, I went to the Pioneers Hospital ribbon cutting for the Surgery Center and Cath Lab, which is important, I think, to us locally. Very important to us because a lot of people have to fly over the hill. Present company reach accepted. We fly people over the hill for a variety of different conditions, and having a cath lab here will mean that people will get intervention for those types of things that deal with the heart a lot quicker. And I think that's very important for our community and the health of our community. Also, I have reserved a table for Dancing with the Stars for the city. They would like to. They're going to run out of those very quickly because we had to go to a different venue this year, and it will be over at the Catholic Church at the Hall in El Centro. at
Oh,
the
Our Lady of
St.
Guadalupe?
Or
Or St.
St.
Mary's?
St. Mary's,
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's in El Centro, and it will be at their hall that they have over there. So it's going to be very limited in terms of tickets. So if everybody's interested, please let me know as soon as possible, and then we'll go ahead and get that table for us at that event. Okay, and that will be May
No, May 11th.
May the 11th. Yes.
I already gave you my
There was some talk about the date changing, but I'm pretty sure it's May the 11th. Okay. So that's good, and that's all that I really have to report.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Morton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick shout out to Marjo for helping to put together that strategy workshop
Yes.
for the
yes.
library. We had full
We did attend that
participation
That's
from the council, and I had the pleasure of helping to guide that discussion. But I thought the results that were emailed out to council, again, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We didn't have a huge crowd, but you had a very involved and engaged crowd. So there was a lot of input, and I hope there's some takeaways there that help the library on board as they continue in Councilmember Hamby. Ad hoc committee, we did meet. We're not doing a formal report out,
report on that.
but we do have approximately about a half a dozen potential recommendations for our norms and procedures on council, with full consideration to future new council members as well as council members that have been already serving for more than one term. So look forward to that. The good work is being done, and we're hoping by the next meeting we have a very short PowerPoint to bring forward our recommendations that could be considered for council to be potentially incorporated. 96th annual installation of officers, great event again. Always do a wonderful setup there and dinner and presentation. CoLab attended the candidates workshop where we were able to help guide new would-be candidates and give some of our sage advice as current elected officials. And that's, again, I think it's a valuable learning for those that are considering to run. And there were some brand new candidates there that are considering that have never served in public office. So that's always good to see. The PMH, we've mentioned that, another great event, and I do echo the comments already made by my fellow council members. That is a tremendous addition to healthcare in Imperial County, not just here in Brawley, not just at PMH, but I can tell you a good portion of the patients we fly fall into the category of needing cardiological intervention, which this cath lab can certainly answer. So great to see that. Also fielded just a couple small things. I did have some citizen input, one with Little League, and I appreciate the city manager. We're on top of that. I don't know what the final solution is, but the volunteer park window has been broken at the snack bar, hence disabling the use of that snack bar, which with Little League fast approaching. So hoping that we have a solution there, potentially some participation, some cost sharing. But however that works out, I think we should move forward and hopefully get that repaired. That's well within the purview. I know I think the department, the city, is just a matter of having the funding for it from the proper budget. So. Downtown improvement, those are ongoing, and I will say that I've been working closely with the mayor on that for the past couple years. So we put in several more hours actually bringing forward some of the findings that we had from last year in combination with the idea of sharing that amongst so we can discuss it as a council. So I think speaking to what Councilmember Hamby said, there's some of these issues that we have taken on actually for many years with our findings and recommendations and ideas that are coming forward, some of which have been implemented, some of which need to be implemented. Here's the difference. Some of the things take money, so that's why we start with a strategy workshop so we can frame the budget process and start making decisions and putting money behind, because money, we all know, equals ultimately the actions that we're taking. So that time's gone in. I look forward to that. And then the last thing is I attended an informal get-together, I think, sending off Ruby Walla at Las Chavelas. So that was most enjoyable and had a good time. So I bring that up one more time. Mr. Mayor, that's my report.
Thank you for your report. I'll mimic some of your own comments and share that I was also at the hospital groundbreaking. A nice event and tremendous improvement for our community. And as I mentioned there, another opportunity for people to be employed in advance. So it's a great benefit all the way around. I also participated in the visioning process with IVC. I thought there was a great discussion amongst those in attendance, and there was many. It was a spectrum of some elected officials, and then it also had just community leaders and people that are involved from throughout Imperial County. great information that was shared, and I'm hoping that, and really, some of the things that IVC is doing is really impressive. So much like was shared earlier today with respect to touring BUHS, really kind of seeing IVC for what it is today. I'm 20 years removed from it, and it's just very different. So I would encourage you all to go out there, take a visit, and it's just really a great opportunity for those who choose not to leave the Valley and stay here. There's a great opportunity to get an education there with some quality programs. So anyway, also attended IVDC, the roundtable discussion that they had the other day, and their meeting. Also went to the Hidalgo Society event. It was well attended, and it was a nice event as well. I was honored to be able to share my thoughts at the CoLab candidates. What would you call it?
Workshop.
Workshop. And so one of the titles was, "So you're thinking of running for office." I said, you should change it. So you're thinking of running from office, is probably where. Mr. Hamby was there. Right. Right, exactly. Also met here very briefly with the CEO of State Book, along with IVDC leadership. And so State Book is a company that helps in locating sites for businesses, larger industry. And so they had a very impressive, very interactive mapping system that they use with local content and information. This would be provided by IVDC, so it's very specific to Imperial County. And they likely will be looking for support locally from like the different cities. And it's a great tool. I was impressed by it. Hopefully they can come in and make a presentation to us, and we'll see if we can support that. But I think it's a great way for outside businesses that are looking to, they're essentially site locators, and it gives them real specific information. And it also includes information that they may not think of. For example, when they look at Imperial County or Brawley, they're not necessarily thinking Mexicali. And so, again, we share that population. We share, a lot of that transient population that comes here and works. And then the fact that they have, PhD programs that are now tied to programs that are here in California is important. So engineers are coming over from Mexicali, and so we have access to higher levels of education. All that sort of stuff is highlighted on this State Book site. Also, of course, attended the library strategic planning workshop. Very, very good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Wharton, for helping facilitate that, and all of council for participating, and staff, of course. Thought some good information came from that. And so because of that, I hope it also gives an indication of the type of conversation we'll have for our city strategic workshop. So it's going to be very good, and I appreciate the comments you shared earlier with respect to ideas that the council can bring to help facilitate business and those sorts of things. So those are the things that I was able to do. One final item I would like to share with the rest of council, and as I've teased about, some of the things that we've been working on over the past few years, and really kind of centralizing on this year, and I would like to see move forward. And there's some very big plans that I would like to see develop, but it really is going to take council action. Is going to take council support. And so this really goes back to the downtown specific plan that's a few years out. That was part of the Compass Blueprint, and it was actually a grant issued by SCAG at the time. If you haven't seen the document, I'm sure most of you have. It's really a fantastic, fantastic document on our downtown specific plan area. And so I've taken some elements. Obviously, if we had unlimited funds, we'd implement many of the things included in there. We don't have unlimited funds, but we do have some funds that are part of our relinquishment dollars to help improve Main Street and help improve not just the aesthetics of things, but help drive business out there. Now we're starting to see a little bit of a revolution of some of the buildings that had sat vacant for some time. You have Billy Endages who's got the old Firestone building, who's developing that. We have Inferno, although it's been around for a few years, it's really ramping up and taking off now. We have Patty's across the street. So there are businesses that are starting to develop in that area, as well as, just down Main at the pilot station that's going to be coming in about 90 days. So there's areas of improvement throughout the community. But I know most of us here have talked about, at least in our campaigns, about revitalizing downtown Main Street, about helping see it improve. And having considered that and having considered the fact that we just, there's a lot of things that stood in our way in making sure that we started with something. Part of it had to do with, our Measure W that recently passed. We weren't sure if that was going to move forward or not. There's also been, recent elections, things of all kinds of things that have set us in the past, set us back a little bit. But keep in mind, this is a plan that we've been working on moving forward. The theater, it's been a few years since they started to do some rehab work. Now they're doing some more significant work. And now, as we heard today from Tim Kelly, they're looking at starting a fundraising campaign. They're also going to be having a press conference here soon. I think this really ties in to many of those efforts. This is what I asked our city manager to do is just to get, and we've done work with the whole group. What I asked her to do simply was just come up what it would cost to get some renderings of ideas that I have. Okay, and so I want to share this with the rest of council, and this is just basically a cost just for renderings, but they're professionally designed renderings. And what I want to express to you is that it would include. So and really the city manager has the ability to pay for this. She has the ability to spend up to $15,000. But I wanted to make sure that I brought this before council to see if there's support in moving forward. So it would be for a Brawley Gateway sign, a crosswalk and parking streetscape. It's a conceptual design, and so it's a little bit under $10,000 for this. Now I've included a picture. And I wish I would have had a little bit more time to create some more information for you. But really what we're paying for is for specific areas of interest. And part of it is for a crosswalk on Main Street between essentially where, the Texaco station and Inferno's at, is to create a streetscape of a parking area in downtown. Now, I don't want to reveal too much about that because, obviously it would require purchase of a location in downtown, and that can be on our next agenda. But I just wanted to give you an idea of the things that I do want to work on. And so this is just a conceptual design proposal. It's at $9,900. The final page I wanted to share with you is something, and the reason this came to me early was because about 2.5 to 3 years ago, Mayor Pro Tem Wharton and I just really by chance had met a gentleman who owns and operates, he's not the owner, I should say he's a CEO of a sign company that is nationwide, but they were actually building the sign for Carlsbad, for the city of Carlsbad in their downtown area. And at least at the time, the sign cost, it was about a $300,000 cost, okay? And so, going in line with our lighting plan that's set for downtown, really to beautify our community and really feature our community in a positive light, no pun intended there, but really drawing the attention to downtown, getting a safer crossing method for people to go down there for both sides of the street, and having downtown parking, because that's always been an issue for us. I think if those three things are developed with some relinquishment dollars, and based on estimates, and I don't know what it would truly cost, but I would imagine, about $1.5 million may end up, that's what it may end up costing, maybe less because it would require some land acquisition and other things. That would really help cement what we're working on. And so, at the very least, I want to spend, $9,900 is not, a small amount of money by any stretch of the imagination, but it gives us a really good idea of what things will look like. And if council's in agreement at that point, then we can move forward. And of course, we can incorporate this along with the other ideas that the rest of council has in the strategic plan, or strategic workshop. But I do want to reemphasize, this goes back to some of the same concepts that were introduced in the downtown specific plan. So these are just small elements, but I think there are things that we can incorporate this year, this calendar year, if we do things right, And if there's a good idea of what we're going to be doing, I think there's things that we can implement this year. So anyway, that's my pitch to the rest of you. If you want to add something to that,
Mr.
Councilmember.
Mayor, and there's some time sensitivity.
There is,
I mean, in
of
terms
course.
of delivering this project, and to be clear, this is for renderings. So
Right.
we have a visual illustration of what we're talking about going in.
And there's a less expensive way to do this, of course. But the thing is this, if we're going to do something, as I've stated earlier today, we have a chance to do it right, I want to do it right. You know, and so these are long-term improvements. So it's not something that would just be there. It's not a striping plan. It would be, if it's going to be a crosswalk that's going to have an element of safety incorporated there, that's going to be, you know, it has to be well-designed, and it's going to have to, you know, stand the test of time. So that is the reason that I want to propose this to all of you. You know, like I said, $10,000 may not be, it's not a lot of money, but at the same time, it's not something that you know, you can just write a check quickly for. So I want to make sure that you all have an understanding of what I'm trying to do here, and, you know, just see if there's support in order to move forward, at least with the rendering process. So, any other comments or questions? I know it's a lot to absorb, but at the very least, it gets the process started. Is there a desire to move forward?
This is something we would take action on tonight?
We can't take action.
It's not even about action. It's actually within just, we would provide staff direction.
The staff direction.
Yeah.
Just
To
as
put on
one
the
point of
agenda.
clarification, this isn't a budgeted project at this time. So at a future date, I would come back and ask for a budget adjustment to be provided to cover the expense associated. And the source that's
Downtown
being,
specific plans online. It's on our website.
the source that's being identified for potential use is the relinquishment fund. The relinquishment negotiation was, it preceded my arrival in 2011, but as I understand it, the basis for it was roadway miles.
Right.
And the funds are intended in their purpose for long-term maintenance of the roadways. So this, but beyond that, there are no restrictions on how it's used. So it's really at the council's discretion.
And so it is at our discretion, but the other thing too that I do want to make sure, it's a little bit time sensitive, that's why I'm bringing it to you now. I mean, it was a quick estimate on just getting the renderings, and then we can finalize any sort of plan that we may have for our desires for downtown and for, you know, the 8th Street and 111. So I do want to make sure that you understand, I would like to see this move forward. It's really up to the discretion of council and the direction of council, but it identifies some of the things that we have been concerned with, and that's the aesthetics. We know we have the lighting plan that's coming into play, and this would tie well into that, and it also will bring, in my own opinion, it's if we make the improvements to our downtown, if we create the location for downtown parking, if we create a beautiful landscape, it's going to help attract and improve the interest in downtown. Going along with some of the things that, for example, Councilmember Hamby has shared, which is having a very firm blight program in place as well, and that can very well be incorporated into what we're doing. And then incorporate that along with we had talked about a no-fee zone for the downtown specific plan area. All of those things can be incorporated, but this is really just a start to visually create something that's really outstanding. It's very different than what's there currently. And of course, it gives us a very visual idea of what can really become the future. And I would encourage you all to help support this item and move forward.
I would like to see it happen. We've been talking about it for 2 years. So to me, it gives us the next step, a visual. So we're not just talking in, everything's just been in concept. So to me, I'd like to see that occur, and whatever we need to do that. And time sensitive, and it'd be nice to see it before the strategy workshop. But if that were not to happen and we were to consider the next meeting, my next question is, how long does this take? Does anyone know?
Yeah, how long?
Yeah, I mean, if it takes months and months and months, that's one thing. But if it could be done, is this a project that could be delivered potentially by?
The conceptual drawings?
Yes.
My guess is within 90 days. I did not
Okay, yeah.
ask them the question, we talked about an overall project on a conceptual level with them.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
anything more narrow than that. I can come back with the
So,
additional.
in my opinion, if it's a length of time, like 90 days or something like that, then this certainly, we can bring it back and discuss at the next council meeting and ratify it that way, or have them come present, who knows, whatever, we can have an expanded, but if we can move, if they can deliver relatively quick, I
So
would be
the
of the
delivery of
mindset.
the work product would
Yeah.
involve engagement with each of you. And
Okay.
so getting
Right.
input from you. You would be drivers
Yeah.
of these features. They're not, they wouldn't be created in a vacuum.
Right, they're not creating them
Yeah.
on their, that's the
Yeah.
question I had. They're not going to create the drawings. We're going to provide input, either from a committee of citizens or us or the council or however way we're going to do this. We're going to provide certain input and they're going to render certain drawings of a gateway arch, improve the pedestrian safety, and they're going to look at, and I think we had some ideas on that anyway, but I know that this would probably be a more comprehensive look at that. And then this is talking about crossing at
Parking.
Main Street and Plaza Street. Does that mean every one of the crosswalks, or does it mean just one?
Specifically
And then,
in-
and then certain parking streetscape improvements, and I don't want us to go the way El Centro on their streetscape improvements either, because I don't think that's the way we want to go, but I think there has to be some input
That
from
didn't
us on
work.
those
The
issues.
narrow definition is that a parking lot, wherever it's constructed, has parking standards, and it would be developing a parking lot that meets parking standards
And-
and is aesthetic.
But where?
And we as a
Because
city would be
But we-
doing that, and
We
then
don't
we would have
discuss
to look
where
at what the
because that
cost
is
would
a
be. Yeah, that's a
negotiation
negotiable item for a
of
piece of
property.
property.
Okay.
We would in closed session.
I see.
Uh-huh.
It's a property negotiation,
Okay.
but it would cost us some money for the downtown parking.
It would. It
So
would.
that's more, this is more of the rendering of where it might be or what it
Right.
might look
Right.
like and what the standards might be, but it's still, there's a lot of stuff to go through before we arrive at that actual.
Right.
Right.
Before it's actual
Right.
construction or
Right.
even contracts let.
I would
This is
just-
all part of the discussion.
I would ask council just, to have, it's a little bit more thought out as well. There are, some desires of having some locations. It would be before council in a closed session item
Right.
if we were to negotiate the purchase of a location. But I would just ask for your professional faith in this process and support. And so I realize it's not, it's something, the concept is new, but we've been talking about a lot of things for a long time. And I know Councilmember Hamby's new to the group, but there's been discussion for many, many years. The downtown specific plan study's been in place since 2012, and we're 2018.
And-
So, we've all campaigned to some degree on revitalizing downtown. And so,
And some of this ties in with what we've
Yeah.
always discussed. And I think the Gateway Arch, whether we're in favor of that or whether we're not, that's just a topic for discussion and maybe
Yep.
some renderings and to look
Right.
at what might work there, what might not work there. It might not work because of our truck traffic down
Where
through
would
Main
the
Street.
physical
It
location
might
make
be
the
a
most
problem in
sense
that
if it's that
respect,
way,
right.
or here,
At
or
one
whatever.
time, though, in 1907, Brawley did have a gateway
Yeah.
arch.
There was, and
And there was a gateway arch, and it would be interesting to look at that. I don't think we want to go with that because I've seen the picture.
Right.
But I do think that it's a concept we could certainly look at. I think there's a lot of factors to consider on that. That's a little bit more out of, I'm not so sure I'm necessarily in favor of that, but I think I'm willing to look at it, certainly. They improved the pedestrian safety crossing. We've been talking about that for ages now. And then certain parking streetscape improvements. I think we need to decide whether we're going to diagonal park, whether we're going to do other things, whether we're going to parallel park, what type of parking we're going to have on Main Street, along with some type of parking lot, which we probably desperately need down there, if we want it to grow and if we want it to be viable. Because right now, I think Inferno and some of the other businesses down there are experiencing problems with parking.
Right.
And the amount of
So the
parking.
concept that's featured in here is off-site parking, not street parking. just
Correct.
to be
But it
clear.
talks in here about certain parking streetscape improvements. To
The way
me,
it would look-
that
What does that
means
mean?
something different.
Yeah.
No, it's with reference though, just so you're aware, the description that was provided to them is with reference to ensuring that a parking lot is aesthetically pleasing if it's in the corridor.
Correct, okay.
Not
Okay.
that it's a massive lot with, trailers parked.
I don't have any problem with moving forward. This is something has to come back to us though no, you can move forward on this with
Well,
the,
if there's.
we have to make a budget
direction,
adjustment.
Yes.
Okay, so that comes back to us.
and I certainly
So I'm
didn't
willing
want
to move
to,
forward in that.
I certainly did not want to direct city staff in any, I wanted to bring it before council. I know that there's still many questions, but I would ask for that, just professional confidence in that we're working towards something that will definitely improve our community. And if we decide to move against it and do something different, there'll be an opportunity to do that. But this really can get us started in helping shape our 500 and 600 block in our downtown plaza area in just a very positive way, so.
I don't have a problem.
The only thing that I kind of wish I had this before the meeting, because I kind of feel like I have questions, but the way that it's being explained is that we need to move forward, give direction to move forward, and so when they're preparing these plans, is the committee of George, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem that's going to be providing them with information? How is it going to work? I mean,
It's based, keep in mind, it is based on the downtown specific plan. So there are elements that we would incorporate. And so that it would, part of the downtown specific plan did reference, a gateway arch. There are crossing segments, things of that nature. So they're already incorporated within the plan.
Mr. Mayor, maybe you can help with this. In a nutshell, this is giving a visual illustration of what's already been discussed. Remember last year with our presentation of downtown with lighting, when we talked about the aesthetic improvements. So it's just making a movement, a visual step forward to bring that back. By no means is it a commitment of this is what something will look like.
Yeah,
it's still
that's
wide
what
open, to discussion.
I mean,
but-
I would hate to go forward with something
Yeah.
and then pay for something and say, oh, no, that's not even
Yeah.
what we had in mind.
It's the same topics downtown that we've been discussing for.
And keep in mind, we have an approved lighting plan, and our lighting plan also incorporates particular lighting features that are, that we've approved as council. So it would incorporate those things, and it would be in line with the look and feel of those things, so.
So they basically present three concepts and the council would weigh in
Yeah.
on what, kind of like, remember with the discussion around lighting features, we brought in
Right, 3 different
examples, the
plans,
council
3
said,
different looks.
okay, this one's highly desirable, this one eliminate, this one lukewarm. And so they were ranked and determined based on the cost, which route to go.
Probably a good way to go.
I just have one question about this. Is the Holt Group the only firm that we can go to with a request for rendering such as this?
There's likely others, but we have a working relationship with the Hope Group, and they are the engineers that we have contracted with most recently. So they are the ones that we've had a working relationship in doing work within the city.
If there were a desire for a request for proposals, that it'd just take longer.
Sure.
So it's a question of whether,
I think all we're doing, though, is giving staff direction, and
Yeah.
we're not taking any action on the amount of money, anything of that nature. All we're doing is giving direction.
Right, and so that's what I would look for. I mean, I certainly don't want to provide direction that would go against the desires of the council. I know that we all have a desire to improve our downtown. Everything outlined may not be exactly what you have in mind, but I would just encourage you all, and let's see some rendering, some real visuals of our actual facilities. And I would also encourage you to take some time to read the downtown specific
Right.
plan.
And that was my concern, is that I kind of feel like I need to read that and review it again and just make sure that it's in sync with
Yeah.
where we're going. But, I mean, like I said, if we're not really taking any action, we're just giving direction.
And I would just, again, based on the downtown specific plan, based on my work here, based on, my historical knowledge as well, and I would just ask for the professional courtesy and just providing direction. And I want unanimous direction. I don't want, if there's any disagreement, I don't want there to be, I'm not trying to force this down anybody's throat.
Sure.
That's certainly not what I'm trying to do. But I certainly would like to see some very firm work being done and then we have the opportunity to incorporate the blight issue. We have an opportunity to incorporate, if there is, the pigeon abatement program, all of those things that we can incorporate and discuss in the strategic workshop. I think that can all formulate and come together, so.
So to be clear, this direction, though, is moving forward with giving Holt Group the 9910 to do the renderings?
Yes,
That's the
that would
direction
be the
we're going with
direction,
tonight.
yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. I mean, I think it would be prudent to get other bids or quotes at least for something like that, but they may be very comparable. I don't know.
And that's only because I feel this is an organization that we've used, and Jack Holt was our engineer of record for several months here, and he knows our city very well, and he's done things for us, obviously, so I would just be comfortable in doing that. And I do feel like the cost would be very comparable anywhere else, but I have a high level of confidence in the Holt group, so. I would just provide direction unless there's any objection from any of the council members, I would like to see it move forward.
I don't think, I don't have any objection. I'm just, my thoughts are that I'm going to go ahead and read the downtown specific plan as soon as possible, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then if.
It's a lengthy document, it's about
Yeah.
170 pages,
Okay.
yeah. Uh-huh, yeah.
And then if we have any input after reviewing that, then maybe, if we have any questions or input.
Yes.
Then we would send them your way and share them with the rest of the council? Is that how you
Certainly.
see this working?
Yeah. I mean, any way you want to direct questions, whether it's at our next council meeting or sending them to our city manager or the rest of council, I mean, that's fine.
From a staff point of view, the question is, is the city prepared to move forward with this particular topic on a fast track, or is it best based on the comfort level of of council to slow it down and bring forward the proposal along with a budget adjustment? I just want to be clear, if I'm moving quickly, that I'm doing it with the support of all of the council.
And that's what I'm asking for here. I mean, I'm
in support.
obviously I'm support.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, you can bring it forward. I mean, a budget adjustment's going to require that it come back to us anyway. You're going to have to do a budget adjustment. Not in the budget, is it?
So
No, it's
right,
not.
but my normal approach would be not to sign anything until the budget adjustment is approved.
But you have, right.
Well,
So.
Well, I think all of us that's been a major thing that we are all interested in doing is improving our downtown. And
So I
we're
think
all in sync on that one.
if we don't take any action,
And
well,
we
I
have to
think
take
it's
some
done.
action,
So, I
yeah.
mean, there
Luke,
we go.
any objection there?
You've gone over the process together and determined that this is not, we're not thwarting any procedural steps by moving forward in this way as part of a
No,
council
we're
member
just
report.
providing direction. This is not a council action. We're not taking council action. The only reason I brought it in this direction was because I wanted to make sure that there was consensus
Sure.
with everybody.
Yeah.
And there's not any surprises, so.
I think there's definitely consensus that something needs to be
Correct.
done, and this is a great first step. I think there's just maybe a little bit of hesitation on, no real, notice ahead of time that this might be something that we're doing something about
Right.
tonight.
What would satisfy your comfort level?
I think I'm with Norma. I would really like to review the downtown specific plan, understanding that they're going to work within those parameters anyway. But I would.
How about we do this? That way, it satisfies your the questions that you may have. We bring this, order request back on the council agenda on the 20th, and that would be on our next council meeting. That gives you sufficient time to
Yes.
review the downtown specific plan. If you have any questions, we can do it then. But then we would put this before action in front of the city council, and then we can vote on it then and move
So
forward.
would you want budget,
It-
resolution plus?
I
Well,
would.
the contract wouldn't go on it only because it's under 15. So it
Yeah.
would be budget, if you guys didn't want to do it, then you just not act on the budget
That's right.
resolution.
Okay.
That makes me
Does
feel.
work?
Would that
That's
satisfy?
I think so,
Sign
because
it.
It delays us a
feel
couple of
more
weeks,
comfortable.
but it satisfies maybe
They'll have an option.
the comfort.
Yes.
Is that
Definitely.
acceptable to
That's-
everybody? Okay,
Yes.
so that would be the staff direction. Let's do that. Maybe we should have started with that, and then we could have.
Yes.
But I'm glad that we had the discussion,
Yeah,
because it does provide some input. So thank you very much.
Good exercise.
So we'll put this item on the agenda for February 20th with a budget adjustment included. And I would encourage all, if you could please, I have the link, but if you could please send the link to the strategic
I'm gonna read it tomorrow.
downtown
Look at it all,
plan,
read it tomorrow,
specific plan to
memorize
everybody.
it,
Yeah, great.
And you can have an
Okay.
opportunity to read it, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So that's my report, and thank you again for listening through that. Next item on the agenda is going to be city manager's report.
Briefly, want to report out that PD, along with finance and fire, participated with community members and the homeless count. Mr. Estrada was very helpful in organizing the group and being our community leader. Very interesting experience. This year we performed the surveys in daylight. Very, very different experience from trying to find people at night.
Oh, that must have been interesting.
And lots of, maybe some things that were confirmations and some that were surprises along the way. So I'm very interested in seeing the total numbers for Brawley. They're not yet compiled, but we certainly located a lot more folks than last year.
Wow, it's a lot more out there.
Also wanted to note that our Siemens Energy efficiency audit is well underway. 70 meters were pulled last week. They are majority residential, but also a number of commercial that were part of the sample size. Those meters were pulled and taken to a laboratory to determine their efficiency rate. We are fully expecting that because of the age of our current water meters and the widespread failures that we're experiencing, that this particular project is very likely to move forward in the future. So in addition to the water meter replacement, this is a Siemens solution that combines both. It's basically a procurement and financing process bundled in one. So in addition to water meters, a lighting audit was also performed of many of our city buildings that have aged lighting, and they'll be evaluating swapping out for LED lights and what savings could be derived. They also evaluated the potential for a variable frequency drive pump at the pool. And are looking at a number of other options, including an examination of our streetlights structure. Interestingly, IID does not currently offer a rate for LED lights. It's only a flat rate for the streetlights that we currently service. So nowhere valley-wide is there an LED rate available. Aside from that, we've been extremely busy with recruitments. Personnel has been working with many of our departments citywide to fill some very important gaps in the organization. And with reference to downtown, just one final note. Last week, the city joined both ICTC and IVEDC in an EPA site visit. The EPA has funded Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessments for private properties in the transit corridor. So along with IVEDC and ICTC, I walked Main Street. We had a chance to talk with many property owners, downtown stakeholders along Main Street. And we look forward to seeing what properties IVEDC and ICTC may select for further evaluation in the future. The goal of the program is to offer a free service to participating owners. We're hopeful that people want to partner, but our experience tells us it's a little bit more challenging than that. This is not the enforcement arm of EPA. It's the program arm. But IVEDC and ICTC are really excited about it. So to be continued, I guess, with a report out in the future. That's it for my update.
All right, next update is from our city attorney.
So we have a very brief closed session, but it's not a legal report, but many of you know Mr. Garcia suddenly retired from teaching karate in Brawley. He's been teaching here for about 40 years. Rather than let it just go dormant, a friend of mine and I have partnered up and taken it over. So I have 20 years karate and my friend has 34. So it's now 54 years of experience across the street. So if you want to take karate, it's the same style, it's an international association, and it's worldwide, so it's still here in Brawley.
Fantastic. Nice. Well, thank you, and thank you for your commitment.
Well, I need the exercise.
Yeah, well, is there anything we can do to help put the word out there for
Just
you?
pass the word if people want to
Take karate.
find us. It's Brawley Dojo on Facebook.
Yeah.
Prefer to shoot.
Yeah, maybe we can have a ribbon cutting for you or something out there. Yeah.
One of my sons-
Yeah, council, maybe we can have Sam go in there. and-
Spark, a
Yeah.
spark.
I prefer firearm.
Right, Firearms.
So what's the
Thank
name
you.
of the business?
Yeah,
What's the
thanks,
name of the
Sparky.
business
You're-
now?
Well, on Facebook, it's just Brawley Dojo. It's going to have it has a long Japanese name, but it's not anything you'd remember.
Okay.
Anybody would remember.
Sam Kennison?
No. No, Sam's not.
All right.
not on combat.
Nobody remembers.
Sam's not in that on combat.
And next is city clerk's report.
Just a reminder of the mayor's breakfast, February 16, 7:30,
Oh, yes.
Stockman's Club.
All right, thank you.
The league dinner on Thursday.
Leave dinner on
Yeah,
Thursday, and
it's
so it's a
this
Pure Grow deal.
Thursday.
Conflict.
All right.
It's the pure breed.
I tried to
Wish it
move
would have been a
it.
different day.
Could've had it
Well,
at the Pure Grow site.
my understanding is that El Centro has a conflicting
has
meeting
a
also.
state
What the heck's
address.
gonna happen
Yeah.
there?
Oh, El
This
Centro's
isn't
having
a
their
good,
meeting.
this isn't a good
Previous
plan.
conflicts.
I think they
That's
have
why
a
the day
conflict
got moved
now.
to this day.
All right, thank you, everyone. I know it was a long meeting. I appreciate staff sticking around and members of the public, so thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go into closed session in 3 minutes. Thank you.